You can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things, with FindRx coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
You may have heard that Allstate has new low auto rates, but isn't it time to see for yourself? Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Don't miss the ESPN Dayton Glacier Softwater High School College Football Playoffs. Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you going to miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. I hope everyone's having a great day. Kev, how was your Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday. Good, man. The weather's pretty good outside today, man. You know, earlier in the day it was a little brick outside when I went to the gym, but right now I feel real good outside.
There's the first frost of the winter coming up, or not really winter, whatever the hell it is right now, but it's going to be cold tonight. It's going to be in the 30s. That's all I got to know. So
you turn the heat on at the house yet?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
And then Nora turns it off. And then I go sneak back out and turn it back on, and then she goes and turns it back off, which amazes me because she's always cold, but yet when I'm cold, she's never cold. We're never in sync. That's great. That's a great sign as we get married coming up a few months from now. But excited for today's show. Of course, yes, we'll talk NFL. We got a lot, plenty of NFL stuff coming up. We didn't talk enough Bengals yesterday, so no, I'm joking. But we'll get into some of that. But I want to talk to you. Yesterday, we basically omitted college football from the show as high school football and everything else. So I definitely want to spend some time on that today. But of course, we'll also talk some NFL. ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz at 4:30. We'll hang out with him. We'll talk about our NFL top 5, bottom 5. I'm just going to be honest with you. Let's just kick it off. Let's just I'm just going to tell you one of my top 5. The Cincinnati Bengals are in my top 5.
For real?
They are for real in my top 5.
Wow.
We'll give you the full top 5 coming up here in a bit. But I'm telling you right now, they're the only team right now that offense and defense is clicking at the same level. Like they're the only team. The Cowboys, I think, are close. The Cowboys don't have that signature win yet. They did beat the Chargers, I guess. But still, the Bengals, as much as it pains me, right now, heading into week 7 or week 8 or whatever it is. No, week 7. We're heading into week 7. I'm sorry. They're the only team that we're talking about the offense and defense. You talk about some of these other top teams. We're talking about the Packers. We're talking about their offense. You talk about the Bills. You're talking about their offense. And their defense is okay, but it's not at the level.
Way better than it was last year.
So you look at all these teams, and the Buccaneers, as well as they're playing, they have some defensive deficiencies as well. So, yes, the Cincinnati Bengals are in my top 5. I just thought we'd kick things off. Yesterday, McKinney and some sensitive Bengals fans, they got annoyed with me. So I thought we'd start off the show on a positive note today. The Bengals are in my top 5. We'll get to our top 5, bottom 5. Are they in yours?
They are not.
Oh, you guys. Can you believe this guy? You want to refill that haterade over there, Kev? I mean, come on now.
Pass me the hater, Mike.
Actually, it's a good idea. We don't even know what Kev sounds like with the hater, Mike, to be honest. There you go. So, but again, we welcome you back. We welcome you in. I'm sorry. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. I wanted to open up with this. High school football. You got college, plenty of college coming your way, Kev. But I hate to complain about something that gives so many opportunities to young high school football players. And I'm back and forth on this, but we've talked about this in the past. What is the point of a playoff? The point of the playoff is to put the best teams from that particular sport in a position to go win a championship. Now, at the high school youth level, every baseball team makes it, right? I should know that. Why don't I know that?
I don't think that's true.
I think every baseball, either way, but one way or the other, I think baseball does. I'm sorry, guys, for not knowing. Help us out. Rather than waste time and say these two don't know anything, it's really not that hard just to give us the answer. And we can
all get on your job.
Yeah, but But so basketball, everybody makes it. And everyone's like, well, it's nice that everyone makes it in basketball. And you're right, it is nice. But that doesn't mean that that's the right way. And football, not letting everybody in doesn't mean that that's the right way either. But, it's what we're used to. So high school football, Kev, they expanded the high school football playoff this year from 224 teams to 448. So doubled the amount of teams made the playoffs. Now, I remember when this first broke, me and you were kind of back and forth on it. It's not the end of the world. But to double it, I loved the fact that, it's hard to make the playoff in high school football. It's an honor to make the playoff in high school football. Banners are hung for making the playoff in high school football. We've talked about this about March Madness. What makes March Madness so interesting is, you don't have to win the championship in college basketball to have a memorable season. Mm-hmm. You think about the Dayton Flyers years ago, that Elite Eight run. They didn't win the championship. You lost. You didn't win a title. But, man, we remember that Elite Eight team, right? That was special. The March Madness is special because, you don't even have to win it all to have a memorable program, to have a memorable team that people will look back at years from now. I mean, 10, 20 years from now, we'll still talk about that Elite Eight run that the Dayton Flyers made. They didn't even win anything. They didn't win a championship, but that's the beauty of March Madness. And I thought that was the beauty of high school football here in the state of Ohio as well, because, you think about these class reunions. I did my first one my 5-year reunion a few years ago. I guess I'm still ways away from my next one. Okay, it doesn't matter. But the point is, it was a 10-year, not 5. Holy crap, 10-year. I was like, that's what I was doing the math in my head. Apparently, anyways, I'm showing off how, intelligent I am. But the point is when you go back to those class reunions, you're kind of a nerd if you brag about your high school days to your friends now and everything. But when you reunite with your high school friends, you reminisce about some of the times you had in high school. I remember that in that playoff game, blah, blah, blah. The playoff, when you qualified for the playoff back in my day, and by the way, my school did not, but you talked to friends who did get to play in the playoff. Everyone remembers that. Oh yeah, you played on that playoff team back in 2008 or in 2010. You were on that playoff team, right? There's some pride in that. You take pride in that. You take pride in talking about that, and you hear it and see it all the time. And that's what I loved about it. Going from 224 to 448, sure, that doesn't let everybody in, but it still opened it up to the point to where it has beyond watered it down. Now, I'm not doing the typical Kenner being super negative here, but you got to hear this, Kev, okay? I love the fact that more high school kids are getting a chance to play in the playoff. But listen to this. Of the 448 teams that qualified for the playoff, Kev, okay, 16 total teams per region, 77 teams have records under 500. 77 teams have losing records that are competing in a playoff that back in my day, you would brag just to qualify for the playoff. Not saying they didn't want to win championships or anything like that, but it's almost kind of like March Madness. Sure, whatever, if something special happens in the tournament, that's awesome, but you will always remember being a part of that tournament team in college, in football, high school football. You will always remember being a part of that playoff team. It was special. But I have a hard time being supportive of teams this many, by the way. It'd be one thing if, 448, you have about 10 in there. Okay, they're sprinkled in. But 77 teams under 500. Now, I can go a step further, Kev. Of those 77 teams who are under 500, did you know that 34 of those have 3 wins or less? Not 3 wins, 3 wins or less. Mm-hmm. There is a team in the playoffs an hour south from here, Cincinnati Oak Hills, Kev. They are ranked 16th in D1 Region 4. They're going to take on 7-3 Cincinnati Moeller. No offense to the Cincinnati Oak Hills team, but they are 0-10.
And they made the playoffs. Now, what I wish I would have done a better job on was I wish I would have, and help me out to folks if any of you have come across this. Have you come across a story of a team missing the playoff that has a winning record? Basically, I don't care if a 1-win team missed the playoffs and there's an 0-10 team in the playoffs. That's a problem too, right? You see my point. So again, I know it's a weird issue to discuss because if there's kids listening right now that are playing on one of these playoff teams that are under 500, I'm not attacking you. I'm technically not attacking your team. These kids have done nothing wrong. These teams have done nothing wrong. I mean, sometimes you're just not good, and that's okay. It's a part of the process, right? I'm not bashing these kids for playing on teams that aren't good or for kids that aren't that good of football players. That's not what this is about. What I have a problem with is this. Like, I get it. At the end of the day, it's all about money. That's really what this comes down to. They expanded the playoff because of money, because there was a lot of money lost because of COVID, and that's what we hear a lot of, and that this was a way to combat that. But here's how I combat that combative statement right there. I would have rather they done what they did last year, Kev. If you're going to do it this way, everyone should just be in.
Right.
If an 0-10 team is competing for the playoffs, for a state championship, you might as well just let everybody in. Because I would rather, like, for me, my preferred tier is, or my preferred format is the 224 teams. Let it be an honor to even make the playoff. I remember when I was a real little kid, I remember the first pep rally when I was in elementary school, the first pep rally I ever remember where I fell in love with sports. It was the team I went to Van Wert. Joel Penton, I don't think that's a name anybody knows, but it's a big deal where I'm from. That's like one of the only few D1 athletes we actually ever have come out of that school. He played for Ohio State and Trustler. He was on that national championship team in 2002, but he played on a team at the high school I went to. We were 5-5. And I told Byers that. Byers looked at me and goes, your team made the playoffs at 5-5? Like that, like when you used to say you were 5-5 and made the playoffs, like that made people roll their eyes. Mm-hmm. That made people angry. Because there's some 6 and 7 win teams that sometimes don't make the playoffs at the 224 range. Now you're probably saying, well, that's not fair. This gets them in. Well, that's what makes the playoff unique at 224 is because of the fact that it's hard. It's not always about being fair. It's about having to achieve something. I don't think any of these teams technically achieved it. 448. You might as well just let everybody in at this point, not just because of how many teams you let in, but because of how many bad teams are in it. And we knew this was going to happen. But, Kev, I never would have predicted that we would have got to 77 teams under 500. And I definitely never would have thought we'd be talking about a winless team, an 0-10 team in the playoff. 34 teams in the OHSAA state football playoff right now are 3 wins or less. I'm sorry. I don't know what that accomplishes. It's great for the kids. But do you think that 0-10 team an hour south of here do you think that they weren't saying back in week 8, okay, 2 more weeks and we're done? Oh, crap, we made the playoffs. Like, what are your thoughts on this? I'm just not a fan. I'd rather go back to the 224 or let everybody in. I don't like this middle level of 448 teams making it.
It's a couple things. For me, one, I would like to know how many high school teams there actually are in the state of Ohio. Like how many D1, D2, D3 teams are in the state of Ohio, because obviously it's a lot more high schools than it was when we grew up, even way more than when my brother was in high school, even when my uncle was in high school and everything like that. So it was definitely harder to make the playoffs then because there were so few teams and so few spots. And now that you have more spots and more schools, I guess that's the point. Like you have more schools, so you want to open it up to more schools to be in the playoffs. I think that's part of the point. The other thing that I worry about, and that I will worry about if I was a parent, is one of my kids getting hurt. Like this is football, so obviously there's a element of violence and everything to it as well. But if your team is 0-10 and they're going to be taking on Moeller, like we all know the type of athletes and the type of program Moeller has. Like they send guys D1. I don't think anybody on the Cincinnati Oak Hill team is going D1, especially if you're on a 0-10 football team. I would be worried about somebody out there getting hurt, namely like the quarterback or the running back or something like that. Like there's an element of danger out there for kids to be playing this game when they're totally outmatched. That's why we have divisions and everything like that. That's why Division 4 teams don't play Division 1 teams, because of the size of the schools, the size of the roster and everything like that. So that's that element as well. On the lone positive side, or just the other side of the coin, when I was in high school, my junior year, one of my best friends, he went to St. Ignatius and they ended up winning state championship. And they were 6-4 throughout the regular season. They ended up winning states, but that's St. Ignatius. You know, they played at that time a national schedule. You know, they were playing teams from Georgia, Pennsylvania, even Florida and everything like that. So I think the system that they have is, I can't say it's flawed because I have no idea how you even come up with a system to format a playoff, especially when you have this many schools trying to make the playoff. I know it's formulated by the point system and everything like that. But for me, the biggest thing that I will be worrying about is somebody getting hurt, because these kids, and they are still kids, when they're out here playing this game of football and there are teams out here the size of Lakota West taking on smaller schools and everything like that. Like, that's kind of scary for me.
Well, 0-10 taking on Moeller.
Yeah.
Like Moeller, they're 7-3, but they played one brutal schedule. Like, I mean,
Right.
teams that Moeller lost. I mean, Moeller is good.
Yes.
They have 3 losses because their schedule. That's who they. I mean, they play
A
dominant
national schedule.
and now they got to play this 0-10 team.
It's not like they're playing like opponents. You know what I mean?
And they're not motivated for this playoff game either. Like, and what you mean by the player safety too, on top of that, comes from the standpoint of football is a very dangerous sport when you are playing not to get hurt.
Right.
When you are trying to not get hurt, football can become very dangerous because instinctually your body does things when you play football that you've just been due to reps and everything. Like, but when you try to stop your body from making a hard tackle, when you try to, cut out of the way in a different manner than what you're used to avoid being hit, that's how you pull something. That's how you get hurt ultimately. I mean, they don't sound like big things, but it's real. Like that would be, people talk about that all the time. When you're playing to not get hurt, you usually get hurt. So people are being sympathetic to the 0-10 team, but I feel bad for Moeller. I feel bad for Moeller that those kids have to play an 0-10 team in the playoff. This isn't about attacking the, man, I can't believe that team's horrible. They shouldn't be, and it's not their fault. They did what, you play what's in front of you. You play with who you have. Mm-hmm. And kudos to those kids for toughing out that season.
Oh, yeah, let's be clear, because the kids
to play,
the kids want to play.
Yep.
No matter if they're 0-10, they're going to be like, this is football. You're almost brainwashed to a point of sports where, you truly believe that anything can happen, man. We can cause a fumble on an opening kickoff. We can make this happen. We get this win over this powerhouse program, and it'll be awesome. It'll be one for the yearbook for decades, like you talked about when you go to these class reunions. Remember, we beat Moeller in the playoffs, and we were 0-10. We finished 1-11. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be awesome. But the likelihood of that, ooh, man, like you said, man, I worry about the safety of the kids and everybody involved in these type of matchups, man.
All right, 518-1410, 518-1410. I am curious from parents who are listening, and you don't even have to have kids who are currently playing high school football right now, but parents who have had kids play high school football or are currently playing, or just an opinion on this in general. What is the right way to view this? Because I'm in between. There's one part of me that is just the fan of high school football in general that thinks it's way too many. 448 teams. You don't need that many. I mean, for money purposes, yes, you do, I guess.
How much money do you think they're making off of that?
I mean, look, the OHSAA is the one that sells the tickets for these matchups. Like, it's the cut of the ticket sales and everything like that. I'm not sure exactly how it's all divvied out, but that's one reason. I mean, you talk about, you go from 8 teams to 12 teams to 16 teams. I mean, that's all. For those poor souls that pay to go watch an 0-10 team, if the OHSAA can make money off an 0-10 team, more power to them. The NCAA is like, we got to get in on some of that. We got to figure out how to make money off of our bad teams. I mean, my goodness. Real quick, by the way, so last year there was a total of 707 eligible high school football teams for the playoff last year. Now, this press release from the OHSAA didn't say for this season, but 707 teams from a year ago were eligible for the postseason. 709 that played 11-man football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's also those, the 7-on-7 leagues and all that stuff too. I don't know if that is in Ohio, but I saw a Sports Center special on that one time about, like, there actually is high school football out there that, at that level. I found that is a lot of smaller schools and stuff like that. But all right, 518-1410, 518-1410. Do you have a problem with so many teams qualifying for the OHSAA football playoffs this year? The playoff expanded from 224 teams to 448. They doubled it. Now, you're probably saying, that's awesome. More, double the teams get in. That's more opportunity for the young kids. But I do believe it does impact the competitive nature of the playoff. I think it makes it less appealing. When I grew up, it was special. It was an honor just to make the playoff. I mean, you hung a banner for making the playoff. Regardless of what happened in the playoff, that's how big of a deal it was. I don't think the 0-10 team in Cincinnati right now is getting a banner printed for, hey, me and my guy right here, and we played on that playoff team back in 21. Oh man, you guys were good that year. Well, we didn't win a game, but like, how do you even brag about that?
Like, but that's my thing. Like, how can you make the playoffs with an offer? Like, I know it's the highest 16 seeds, but you didn't win the game.
And that's what's crazy. I just think it's ruining the competitive nature of the playoff. That's why I have a problem with it. But 518-1410, do you have a problem with the expanded playoff field? Of the 448 teams that qualified for the playoffs, 77 of those teams have a record that's below 500. 34 of those 77 teams actually come in with 3 wins or less. There are 34 teams who have 3 wins or less competing in the playoffs, including 0-10. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Give us a call. 518-1410. Are we being too hard on this? Is this a good thing? What are we missing here? I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to any of this, because I heard Tim Strader of the OHSAA say they know they're going to get a lot of pushback, but at the end of the day, if the decision they make provides an opportunity for more young men and gals, depending on the sport, to have an opportunity to continue making memories and continue playing their sport, they're gonna roll with that. Which that's a cute way of saying we want our money, but I mean, he's not wrong technically either. These kids are getting an extra week to play. That, I'm just curious. 518-1410. Kevin and I will be back in just a few moments.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
At Allstate, we've been saying you're in good hands for a long time. But what exactly does that mean? Does it mean you're protected from life's uncertainties? Does it mean you can worry less and live a little more? Does it mean you're not alone, even when things get kind of hard? Actually, yes. Yes, it does. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Allstate and affiliates offer products and services subject to availability, terms, and conditions.
In college football, Goodyear knows a new season means new possibilities, where every Saturday is an opportunity on the road to greatness. No matter if you're out there playing your hardest or cheering the loudest from the sidelines, tailgating in the parking lot, or your favorite spot to watch the game, Goodyear knows passion is what drives us forward all the way to the playoffs. That's the road that moves us. Goodyear, more driven.
It takes 2 vaccines to help protect you this season, the flu and COVID-19. And now you can get both shots at the same visit. Learn more at cdc.gov/vaccines. Sponsored by Sanofi Pasteur.
But we have a truck leaving with a big order on Tuesday.
Tina's floor manager retired, leaving her tortilla factory flat out.
What do you mean she's on a silent retreat?
She must fill the role and all those orders.
To oversee production.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV.
And I'm that voice from movies you watch on demand. DirecTV Stream brought us together to save the world.
Maybe not save the world, but DirecTV Stream does bring your live and on-demand favorites together.
Your favorites together.
I just said that.
She just said that.
Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on-demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at DirecTV.com.
Requires high-speed internet and compatible device. Content varies by package and location. Restrictions apply.
Hi, this is Paul Keels, voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep your home comfort system running smoothly and efficiently with regular checkups from Butler Heating and Air Conditioning. Butler has been proudly serving the Miami Valley since 1949. Don't wait until your equipment breaks. Call Butler today at 937-253-8871. That's 937-253-8871. Go Butler and go Bucks.
This is the sound of a popular American motorcycle. It's the sound of freedom, the open road, really good times. And this is what it sounds like with a drunk guy in it. How do you like the sound of that? Cops are cracking down on drunk motorcycle riders. If you ride drunk, you will get caught and you will get arrested. Drunk riding, over the limit, under arrest. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So it's about time for an oil change? We've got what you need. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic or synthetic high mileage motor oil and an STP extended life oil filter for just $36.99. And you can get it all fast, your way. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Panera believes in saying yes to things, like the new grilled mac and cheese sandwich. Get free delivery when you order on the app through September 14th. Panera, live your yes. Restrictions apply.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
You know that saying, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just about choked because I didn't realize we were coming back, and I had a bunch of gummy bears in my mouth, so I didn't want to go spit them out, but I'm trying to chew really fast, and then I choked on one. In the middle of that conversation with Faith, I was actually choking through some of that because I was freaking out because I couldn't breathe. I finally got it up, but I'm okay.
You're alive. You're here with us.
Okay, yep. All is good. All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Tuesday. Hope everyone's had a great day. We talked a lot about the Cincinnati Bengals, their big win over the Ravens over the weekend, and we'll get back into some of that here in just a little bit. 518-1410, 518-1410, ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz will join us coming up an hour from now. But we were talking about the OHSAA state football playoffs, which does kick off this Friday. And again, I'm not going to spend all this time beating up on it and then not gloss over all the local Miami Valley teams that did qualify as well, because that's not to take away from what they've, from their success. But we were talking about, it went from 224 teams that qualified for the playoff. They doubled it to 448 this year. Of the 448 teams that qualified for the OHSAA state football playoffs, 77 of those teams have a record that is below 500. I didn't even include the teams that are 5-5 right at 500. Keep in mind, people would scoff if you said you were 5-5, which means you lost 5 times in a 10-week period and you still made the playoffs. People would scoff at that during the 224 team era. Okay, that was considered wow, I can't believe you made it at 5-5. Now you have 77 teams that have a record below 500 competing in the playoffs. 34 of those teams have at least 3 wins. Have at least, of those 34 teams, quite a few of those have 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins. I mean, there's even an 0-10 team, Cincinnati North Hills or whatever their school. Actually, let me be respectful. Let me pull it up to make sure I'm getting it correct. Cincinnati Oak Hills. They're ranked 16th in D1, Region 4. They're taking on 7-3 Cincinnati Moeller. They're 0-10. And I can't tell. I'm not going to say that, are they a victim of this system? Or is it, I'm curious, what their community feels about it. Are they embarrassed by it? And again, I'm not taking shots, folks. I know on this show I take shots. We have fun and all that. That's not what this is. But how do you think those kids feel, Kev? Your school wants to be excited about you qualifying for the playoff, but you're 0-10. It's putting those kids in a weird situation too, where they have to try. I mean, if you're a coach, how do you spin that? I mean, good for those coaches. They're going to get those kids ready to play, and you got to go play. I give them credit. They're 0-10. They could have quit after any one of those losses, and they finished the whole season. I'm kudos to them. But man, this is a strange situation. That's all.
Very strange. As the coaches, I'm sure they're spending it as an opportunity for you guys to, go play another game, get better, and propel you guys into next season, because I'm sure the whole team isn't full of seniors and everything like that. So they're using it as a stepping stone. And then for other programs that maybe didn't have the season they were expecting to have, for whatever reason, say, hey, this is our opportunity to prove we are as good as we always thought we were going to be going into this season. So it's a second life and everything like that. As far as the student body is concerned, man, like, kids know, like, they know. They know they're overmatched, yada, yada, yada. And if they don't know, their classmates are sure telling them they're overmatched. I remember when I was in high school, our sophomore year, one of our best friends, James, he was on the team. He was on varsity as a sophomore, and they went 0-10. And as his best friends, we had to go to every game and sit through the cold, the rain, because he's our best friend and we knew him since first grade, and we're just as miserable as he was. But we let him have it after the game. Like, man, I can't believe y'all, man. What's going on out there? Just ragging them. So I'm sure that people in every classroom, every class of the starting quarterback, starting running back, their friends are razzing them, and they'll be there at the game watching their friends on Friday night, and hopefully they score a point.
Yeah, and that's going to be key. So I have to follow this just to make sure. But Ted Landis on Facebook, Ted Landis Jr. says, get this, in Division I football region, there is a Western Hills opting out at 1-9, taking their place. So I think Ted just tuned in the middle. So that 0-10 team we were talking about, this might be some clarification. 0-10, they chose to be in the playoff. So 1-9, a 1-9 team, I guess Western Hills opted out. And again, I'm not saying I don't believe you, Ted. I just have to make sure I put that disclaimer out that according to Ted, again, I have to, I haven't read this anywhere, but we did see the 0-10 team in the playoff. But I guess according to Ted, the reason they got in is, they took their place. Oak Hills took their place at 0-10. Now Ted's not happy. He goes, everybody gets a trophy. Never mind winning a game. It's like getting all your questions wrong on the test and still getting an A. I don't want to go as far as that. Look, this is why I was like back and forth on this. Like, is giving kids, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, boys, another opportunity to play a game? I mean, is it really that big a deal? I mean, who's it really hurting? It's not hurting anything other than, it's not hurting those kids. If they want to play, that's awesome. Super. I mean, it's one more week that they get to play with, some of those kids are seniors, never get to play football again. Good for them on that. But I think that I'm not attacking the teams or the players. It's the system of allowing this to get to that point. It should have never got to this. I mean, there shouldn't be 34 teams that have at least 3 wins. But 518-1410, that's the number to call in and join in on the conversation. So on Twitter, Alex Early tweets to the show, Kev, as a previous varsity coach, 8 is too small and 16 is too much. Unless you combine the regions to only do 2 regions like they did a few years ago. Do not go the Indiana route and play 9 games and let everybody in. So, Alex, the only thing I'll say to that is I'm not a fan of letting everyone in either, but I am a bigger fan of letting everyone in as opposed to this 448-team schedule. If you're going to let 30-plus teams who have only won at least 3 games, you might as well let everybody in.
Right.
Like, that's all I'm saying is that right there. Or stick to the 224 and make it difficult. I want it, it should be difficult to make it. Where did this go? Nick on Facebook, Kev says, yes, I do. It should be hard to make the playoffs. It was 4 teams when I played. I think Nick played at Wayne. And I apologize, Alex on.
That was probably like in the 90s, huh?
Yeah. So Alex on Twitter. I don't know how old you are, Nick. How old are you, Nick? Alex is the varsity baseball coach at Wayne.
Okay.
So shout out to Alex. Alex, thank you. I appreciate you chiming in on Twitter. Again, much appreciated. Scott Campbell says, I was a bit surprised to see Fairmont get in at 6-4. Why are you surprised to see Fairmont get in at 6-4? You see the teams that they beat? They beat a lot of really good teams this year. But
I would like to see their points.
And 6-4 is not a bad. I'm fine with 6-4, but usually the 6-4 teams, But yeah, again, it just depends. It's the point system too. But yeah, 6-4 looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, like you're a powerhouse right now.
But yeah. Doug Toby said, I think there's 71 Division I. Let me start over. I am struggling today. What is my problem?
Gummy bears.
It is the gummy bears. They're not, and I promise they're regular gummy bears.
You said it, not me.
I'm not going to Dave Matthews Band concert. I promise that. Actually, I might be high. I think I put the Bengals in my top 5. Is that how I opened the show? My goodness. Doug Toby, I'm going to leave this playing because you're a Bengals fan, but he says, I think there's 71 Division I Ohio high school football teams. 64 of them get in. Your enrollment has to be over 603 to be Division I. That's it? Yeah. All right, but 5-1. We did the social media reactions. Let's go to the phones now. We got Scott, I believe. Scott, How are you, sir? Thanks for holding.
Hey, I'm doing all right. Hey, you keep on saying I'd rather be right down the middle. How about 12 teams? Give the first top 4 teams in each division a bye and let the other 8 scramble it out. You'd eliminate all the 3 wins and below, I think. You'd give all those guys an opportunity to get in. You'd reward the best teams. And then, and OHSAA gets the money grab that they need with that extra round. Now they don't get, as much money as they would have if they, like what they're doing this year. But it just seems to me there's a compromise that would be more equitable. When I was a kid, gosh, we were 10-0. We made it in. Then the next year we were 9-1, and only top 2 made it in. We didn't make it. How do you like to be 9-1 and not get in? That's
you missed the playoffs at 9-1. Holy moly!
Yes, yeah. That was like in 1984, though.
In 1984.
Yeah, so way back. So I mean, but it was it was an honor. I remember when my sons made the playoffs 2 or 3 times when they were in high school. Just in the past 5-6 years, and they got a patch for their jacket. Because that was a big deal.
Yeah,
this year it feels like nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. That's why I said I was comparing it to kind of March Madness a little bit, where you don't even have to win the championship to have accomplished something, because it's so hard to make the NCAA tournament, and in high school football, it's so hard to make the football playoffs. And so when you qualified for it, it was an accomplishment. You hung banners up. We were we were a 2021 playoff team. And now it's like, you look at it and it's like, well, you're letting so much mediocre. Actually, it's below mediocre. It's below mediocre teams getting in. That's the problem I have with it right there. So we'll see.
See, the NCAA, though, those 16 seeds, those are great teams at their level. They did it. They did something to earn their way in, and with this, it doesn't seem like you've got that.
All right. Well, good stuff, man. Hey, Scott, thanks for the call. I appreciate your input.
Sure.
Take care. 518-1410, 518-1410. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash right now, kind of just discussing these weird numbers of teams below 500 in the playoffs, because they expanded from 224 to 448, 16 teams now in each region. So here's what I want to know. And if anyone has an example of this, I'd love to know. We're talking about all these bad teams that were let in that have at least 3 wins or less. I mean, there's 34 teams that have won at least 3 games. I'm sorry if I'm repeating the same points. Every time I say it, it's still not sinking in. Like, this is crazy to me. But I would love to know, is there a 5 or 6, 7-win team that didn't make the playoffs? Like, because of the point system. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I am curious. Did someone get snubbed because of this, to where it would get, because it's different in each region? I would have to think not, but I would have to think that there is a 5 or a 6-win team out there that didn't make it, while there's 2 and 3 win teams that are, practicing this week, prepping for a playoff game. 518-1410. Kev, who we have on line 3?
We got Doug.
Doug, how are you?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, man. What you got for us?
First of all, I'm kind of removed from high school football, but I'm listening to y'all, and y'all okay with 6 and 4 and 7 and 3 teams. I ain't never heard of that. Well, I came out a long time ago. I married that 2 years before Keith Byron, and they were the first team from the city to ever make it, even have a chance to play for a state title. No Dayton Public School before then ever, and they had never had a chance, an opportunity. And Meadowdale and Rolfe, they would always be 10-0 or 9-1 every year, and they never even got considered to go. And it's then got to the point where 6 and 4 teams is okay, and 7 and 3 teams. If you done lost 3 games, you're not good enough to win no state championship. So they just wasting a lot of time. Now, I understand what you said, why not let them play? Well, they might as well just let everybody in like they do in basketball, because that's what it sounds like. You got teams, it's probably less than 10 teams that actually have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
And you got teams that you just wasting time.
Doug, and that's the thing too. Like, that's why everyone keeps talking about how it's a money grab, because, you know, it doesn't matter the quality of the game. There's still going to be a bunch of dedicated parents that will go watch their team, good or bad. And the money's green from everywhere. It doesn't matter. Right. Like, so I think ultimately we know the reason why it's being done. But again, at this point, it's like, if you're going to expand it to 448 teams and let so many bad teams in, you might as well just let everybody in. I'm a bigger fan of letting everybody in than I am of the current format of 448. And by the way, I don't want everybody in. I just want it the way it used to be of 224, or at least the format it was before this change. So, but no, the fact that you're right, I'm making 6-3 sound, or 6-4 sound great, 7-3 sound great. But that is great compared to the teams that are in it right now. And that was my point, I guess.
Right. Like I said, the caller before that said in 83, 84, that was the norm. Was a lot, what he was saying, because like I said, I don't think Keith and them got in. They may have got in one of his years. I don't know if they got in both of his years, but I know they were the first team ever to have a chance to go. But it was always a 10-0 or 9-1 team in the Dayton Public League that never got an opportunity to go. And now it then came down to you can win 7-3 and you looked at like you got a shot.
Well, I'm not going to pretend.
Cincinnati Motor was 7-3.
Yep.
They never was 7-3 when I was growing up. They were 10-0 every year.
Well, Doug, I think the thing is too, and I don't know the history of how the point system was calculated for the playoffs, or when the point system became a thing, or how it worked. I don't know when that officially became a thing, so I can't sit here and speak on it as if I'm some kind of aficionado on it. But at the same time, it's not the total wins you have; it's the quality of wins you have, and who those wins came against. And I think that's what plays a role in that. That's why you see some 5-5 teams make it, and there'll be 8-2 teams that don't. And that's why, Trotwood became an interesting, thorn in the side of a lot of the D1 teams in the GWAC over the years, because while Trotwood was beating up on all the GWAC D1 teams, they were getting all the playoff points. But when the team would beat Trotwood, they wouldn't get those playoff points. So that was a part of the mess that was Trotwood being in the GWAC. And you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it's that point system that really, it's not about the wins and losses. It's about the quality of the wins. And I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I guess that's how they do it. Okay, thanks a lot.
Hey, take care, man. Appreciate your call. Yeah, Doug's not wrong. Like, I know what he said. I mean, there's teams that can win 8-9 games, but when you're playing teams below your division, and again, I can't remember how everything is calculated points wise, but I do know, a lot of Trotwood would be a game that not a lot of teams would get credit for even beating if that was the case, especially when they were in the GWAC. 518-1410, 518-1410. So Mike on Facebook says that I just hope that some prospect doesn't get hurt before playing an unnecessary game. And that goes back to the health and safety we talked about earlier, Kev. Mike on Facebook says that he just hope a top prospect doesn't get hurt playing an unnecessary game. So we'll see. But who do we have up next?
We got Gary on line 4. Gary,
how are you? Welcome in.
Hey, it's Gary from Riverside.
Gary in Riverside, you're on live, man. What you got for us?
I went to Stebbins High School. I graduated in 1996, but in 1995 we went 9-1. I played with Jamal Robertson, who played in the NFL for 5 years. We had a legit chance to win state that year, and we didn't even get a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
this new rule is ridiculous.
Yeah, and again, and then some of the rules, but the point system. Do you know what kind of point system was used back then? Is it the same one? I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I know. Yeah, I know it was different. I know Fairmont got in over us. I do know that. I do remember that. But what hurt us was our only loss was we were Division II, but we lost to Versailles. And back then, Versailles was winning state every year, every other year. And they had won 50-something straight games, and we lost by under a touchdown and had a touchdown called back. I mean, but we didn't even get a chance, and now they just let anybody.
Yep. And Gary, thanks, man. I appreciate the call, and that's a great point too. Just, it sounds like a lot of people have their own examples of back when they played and their win totals. It's not, and again, I'm countering this with the response of not knowing exactly how it's calculated to the T, but I do know that it's not just a win's a win. A win is not just a win. I mean, it's a weighted system. So wins over a D1 school, Kev, are 6.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Win over D2 school, 6 points. Wins over Division 3 is 5.5 points, and so on and so on. So there you go. So, and someone tried to correct me and say that Trotwood was D3 and that the rest were D1. That's what I said, right? Okay, yeah. I know, yeah, Trotwood was D3. They were playing bigger school. I mean, that's what made their run even more impressive,
right?
Is that they're beating up on all these bigger schools at that time. But 518-1410, who's on line 2? Kevin?
We got Steve.
Steve, how are you, my friend? Welcome.
Justin, how's it going?
Just another day in paradise, man. What do you got for us?
Hey, back to this playoff stuff. Being an older guy, age 65,
okay.
The playoff system, I believe, if I remember correctly, either began in 73 or 74 and was developed by a guy named Jack Harbin. And if, sometimes you still see references to the Harbin rating system. He was a cash register repairman, but a volunteer assistant coach for a small little school called Wycliffe out east of Cleveland. And back in those days, state titles were determined by the state polls, the AP poll and the UPI poll. And schools with reputations like Massillon, Canton, McKinley, they always, got the mythical state title. So Harbin came up with this geometric formula, which is still basically the formula that's used today. You've been kind of talking around it and pretty close. The higher ranked school, you get more points for, but you also get points for the teams that they beat. So it's like a geometric pyramid. But going back to what you began the discussion with today, I'm totally in agreement. I think you've lessened the value of making the playoffs. And if you're going to do that, then you might as well let everybody else in. And you said earlier you weren't sure, but all OHSAA teams, regardless of sport, cross country, track, volleyball, they all get into the tournament when it starts. So everybody's in. And football, as far as I know, is the only sport that isn't. So I'm kind of like you. You go back to the way it was or let everybody in. Because I think right now it's just basically an OHSAA money grab. So,
and you know what?
Enjoy the show,
Steve. Real quick, what's funny is that if the OHSAA, like, people are getting mad at them for this, is why I just wish more I just wish more industries like that would just come out and just say what it really is. Look, by expanding the playoff field, it's an opportunity to make more money, which in essence helps us continue to provide the platform for your sons and daughters to compete for state championships at the highest levels. Like, I don't know why they just don't come out and say that when they try to feed you the lines to kind of make you believe one thing when it's really the other. That's when I just get frustrated. Like, we don't have to like that you're saying, hey, we're doing this just because of money, but just say it. Just say that's what it is, because I think we can all, especially during these times right now, understand the business decision is we got to do this to help make more money. Don't try to sauce it up and make us think you're doing it for other reasons when we know why. We could sympathize with the actual reason, and you're trying to talk to us like we don't know what the hell's going on. That's why
Yes, I agree with that, because if they just said, hey, listen, last year we took a bath financially because of COVID, everybody understands that. Obviously, a lot of businesses went through that and didn't make it because of COVID. So I think if they just come out and say, hey, listen, for the next year, maybe or two, we're going to expand because we need to recoup our lost revenue, I think people would have respected that and gone along with that. But as long as it wasn't a long-term thing, I think everybody would understand they needed a period of time to recoup some of the money lost from all the various playoff games that weren't played. But that's not the route they chose to take. So that's all I got. Enjoy the show. I'll keep listening. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Take care.
I want to hear from somebody that is in agreements with this. I want to hear their argument for saying why this is a good idea outside of the money aspect. Because I'm very curious to hear a different argument, because we're going to get calls from people that played high school football in the early 2000s, 90s and 80s, and them for more or less complain it wasn't this way when I was in high school. We were 9-1 and we got ripped off and everything like that. We're going to get those type of calls. And then we're going to get calls from people that say this is everybody gets a trophy society and everything like that. I want to hear from somebody that thinks this is a good idea, because I want a legitimate answer of why they believe it's a good idea.
All right, well, there you go. So, again, we've heard a lot here in this first hour regarding this. If you're just tuning in, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here. The high school football playoff field doubled in size. It expanded to 448 teams. What made the high school football playoff so unique and special was that it was so difficult to qualify for it. So when you did, it was a special moment. It was, the bond between you and your teammates when you qualified for a playoff. It's like, yes, you're going to compete for a championship. You want to pursue that. But no matter what happens after you qualify for the playoff, you got that bond is so strong. You will always be remembered in your school's history for making the playoffs. Banners are hung up for most schools. Like, it's that big of a deal. It's that special. It's that rare. And right now it doesn't feel as special with 448 teams that have made it. And you're probably saying, well, why is this such a big deal? There's more teams. Well, when it's so difficult to make the playoff, and now you've doubled the size, but now there's so many teams who are under 500. It's like, what did we do here? You didn't expand the playoff because a lot of good teams are being left out, obviously, because look at all the bad teams that are in. It is just one season, though. Would this be how it is every year? I think it would be, but do you disagree? To Kev's point, who out there believes that this is a good thing, that more teams being in is a good thing? Let's hear from you. 518-1410, 518-1410. Give Kev and I a call, and we'll pick up with this at the top of the hour. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Whether you're vaccinated or not, it's important to know the symptoms of COVID and its variants. Fever is the leading sign of COVID and the flu, so make sure you use an accurate thermometer. Only the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer has been proven accurate with more than 100 clinical studies. Non-contact thermometers have no clinical evidence behind them and are not reliable. Be vigilant and seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Learn more at Exergen.com.
We're a farm store, a family store, a look what I found store. We're a store made for real people and some real beasts. We're a hey neighbor kind of store and an everyday low price store. We're Rural King, and we're working hard to be your favorite store. Check out the huge selection of men's, women's, and kids' Wrangler clothing at the lowest prices every day, like these Wrangler Retro Bootcut jeans for just $49.99.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Staples Connect is a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. WING 1410 Dayton.
Knock, knock. Trick or treat. Happy Halloween.
Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local. What are you gonna miss? He struck him up. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here. Hour number 2. We're coming at you live here in Dayton, Ohio. Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kettering, to be exact. So there you go. I don't need to give some of y'all my location. That's for damn sure. Got to put out some fires. That's why I put the Bengals in my top 5, by the way.
Oh, looking for some brownie points.
The brownie points are going to be coming a lot here in a few weeks, though.
I see what you did
here. Pass touchdown here, rushing touchdown here, pick 6 here. I mean, just, this is still my favorite one, by the way. I know we were debating this yesterday. There you go. It's the catchiest of them all. But hour 2, a lot to get into. Picking up with a conversation about the OHSAA football playoffs. Is anyone in favor of it? So far, we're an hour in. Nobody has said they like the expanded playoff field. And like I said, so I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I wish the OHSAA would have just come out straight out and said this. Don't give us some PR line of, we want to provide our student athletes with more opportunities to prosper out on the field and blah, 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 blah. No one's buying that. We all know why you did it. And I don't think anyone's mad at why you did it. I think people really get angry when you try to talk to them like they're dumb. When you're trying to convince people that you're doing it for this jolly old reason that isn't really why you're doing it, it's hard for people to support that. But guess what? It's a pandemic right now. A lot of people have lost jobs. Those who have been fortunate to keep jobs are working for companies that could barely keep employees or find employees. People are, they're not making a lot of it. Some businesses are barely hanging on. So when it's all said and done, when you think about it, don't you think that, the OHSAA would have been better suited to just come out and say, hey, listen, we've kind of hit a financial, crisis here. Like we need to kind of make up some of the dollars lost. We're going to expand the playoffs for this reason. Sure, you'll still have some people that don't like it, but I think we can all, as human beings who have been impacted by this global pandemic from a financial standpoint, I think we could all look at the OHSAA and sympathize with them from that standpoint. So even though we know why they're doing it, we're not sympathizing with them because they're not being honest with us. It's like, just be honest. Just say, we're doing it because of this. We can all relate to that. Even if our jobs haven't been impacted by it, we know some people who have been impacted by it, so we can all relate. We can all understand. We all get what's going on in our world today. I guess that's really where I'm coming from on this is like, why not just be honest? Why not just say that that's what this is about? Because then we wouldn't have to do this hour and a half part of the show on should they be doing this or not, because I'm not convinced that they're not going to continue doing this moving forward, and I don't know if it's for the right reasons or not.
I'm not sure if this money is like going to line somebody's pocket. I think this is going to make sure they have the funding to fund all the other sports. Look, man, as a person that ran cross country as a freshman in high school, nobody goes to watch somebody run it miles in a park. You know what I'm saying? But they still have to pay people to be out there and everything like that. And, they have tons of other sports going on that need funding. Everybody knows about basketball and football. Those are the revenue generators and everything like that. But there's tons of other sports out there. There's lacrosse, there's field hockey, there's track and field. So they need to have revenue to make sure these other sports go on, and not even to mention, the Title IX implications, everything like that. So you're right. Maybe if they actually came out and said what it was, then people would understand. But I would argue that some people wouldn't. I would argue some people wouldn't understand, or for lack of a better word, would even care. They would be like, well, my kid don't play those sports, because we all know people, for the most part, are selfish.
but if they don't, but it doesn't concern them. I guess that's why we've narrowed it down to the parents who have kids that have played or are currently playing. But no one out there has said that they're a fan of the expanded playoff field, but I do think that you would think there'd be parents of kids on teams who would not have made the playoff in a regular playoff system, like in years past, that are grateful to have a chance to play in the playoffs. And I think we've done a pretty good job of making sure we put the disclaimer out there that we're not here bashing the kids or the teams themselves. You get the invite, go.
Right.
So many times
make the most of it.
We talk about coaches all the time who we think are qualified and not qualified, but yet we bash them like, well, I don't even know why they would take that. If anyone, heck, I'm not qualified for this job. I took it, and you guys hate me. So, you know what I mean? Like, don't hate the person for taking the bid or taking the invite or taking the job. Question why it's that way. That's all. 518-1410. Kev, who's on line 2?
We got Chris on line 2.
Chris, how are you, my friend?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
So I see both sides here. I mean, I do think that the proper number is 12. Get them first 4 by, and then let the other 8 hash it out, and then play the other 4. But it's kind of like the game Justin called. The Miamisburg-Springfield game. You didn't see that win coming for Miamisburg. I mean, so that's just why the game's played on the field, and I tend to agree that there is more opportunity. If one of these, low-ranked teams upsets one of these big ones, then you got a story on why they do it.
So that the game you talked about with Miamisburg, being Springfield, no one gave Miamisburg a shot, but you got to understand too, Miamisburg's still a very good football team, and the gap between Springfield and Miamisburg, there's a gap, but it's not huge. And congrats to Miamisburg for pulling that off. But you got to understand, we're not talking about a slight gap in talent between the two, Chris. We're talking about teams like Moeller going up against an 0-10 team. Like, you know what I mean? Moeller, who plays a national football schedule, a national high school schedule, going up against a winless football team 10 games into the season. I just think that there's way too many of those examples in the first round. I'm not saying you're wrong, Chris. But I don't see any upsets in the first round. I'd be very surprised. I'm not saying it won't happen. Can't guarantee it won't, but I would put money on that it will, because I'm a degenerate gambler gambling on high school football. But I would put money on no upsets in that first round.
And maybe Chris is right. Maybe you do it with, the top seeds getting a bye, even if it is 16 teams from each region in there. Maybe like the first 2 top seeds get a bye.
That would expand it. So right now the playoffs are starting on time and ending at the same time as the 12 team regions. Because it basically eliminated the buys, Chris.
And then my last thing I'll say too is it's all about the kids. Them seniors get one last game, and it's the playoffs. So that's kind of cool too. But I do definitely see your point as well.
Hey, good stuff, man. And you're right though. At the end of the day, it's another opportunity for these kids to go out and play, which isn't a bad thing. Especially for the kids that love this, the seniors who will never get to play football again. It's one more opportunity, maybe more if their team wins, right? So, there is that aspect to it. But it's going to be interesting to see, how this kind of plays out with all the games kicking off on Friday. But Chris, thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
518-1410, 518-1410. So that's as close to, he said he could see both sides. I think that's what we're ultimately saying is we definitely see both sides. But I just thought that, everyone's like, well, every other sport, I forgot who it was on my page today. Someone said, well, every other sport lets everyone in. Why shouldn't football? And I'm like, well, okay, football doesn't let everyone in. How come they let everybody in? We could flip, we could ask that question all the time, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. And if the answer strictly is money, we don't have to like it, but just say it's money. More money.
Well, I think those other sports are totally different, especially if you think about a sport like volleyball and football. Volleyball and basketball, like you can play multiple games in the same venue. You know what I mean? Like
only double headers in football.
Yeah, you can't do double headers in football. It's all or nothing. You know what I mean? So I think there does need to be some type of cap. And like we talked about before, man, the injury aspect of this, man, the player safety thing. Like we got to remember, man, these are kids. And when you're not trained as well, like, look, man, we know the kids that are playing football from the age of 5. Some of these kids start playing football when they get to high school. Like, I'm going to go out for the team. Like the level of athlete is immense. And that's how people get hurt. Like 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get hurt playing basketball if you just started playing basketball in 9th grade. And Johnny's been playing basketball since he was 2 years old. You might get embarrassed, get crossed over, might get dunked on, but you're not going to get hurt. In football, you can get hurt doing that type of stuff.
No doubt. In basketball, I can tell you right now, some of the teams we ran into, we were good for our region. We were good for who we were in our conference. Everything. But you get deeper into that tournament. I remember we ran into Toledo Libby one year, had William Buford on there. That was a bunch of damn college kids. We walked out there and I was in awe. There was one point I got put in at the end of the game when I was usually I'm the victory cigar. I guess I'm the blowout cigarette, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what you want to call me that, but I got put in. I'm guarding William Buford and I'm like, he's laughing at me. And I'm like, I'm laughing at me too. I don't know what the hell you're still doing out here. My goodness, like you run, and that's basketball, running into teams that you have no business being on the floor with, but not saying we couldn't get hurt there, but it's not the same thing. When you're going up against a physically, who has the team who has a big time physical advantage on you, that's where it really gets dangerous for 4 quarters of a physical sport, you know. But 518-1410, Mike Nympher on Facebook, Kev, says these administrators can't push for COVID protocols anymore when now they are putting these kids in more games. Honestly, they're not putting kids in more games. The only teams that are getting more games, I guess technically the teams that would have the first week bye, they're technically playing an extra game. And the teams that usually are off on week 11 are now playing on week 11. I'm not going to go to that COVID side with this. I don't think that plays a huge role with this decision right here. I don't think anyone's outraged over that. You can't play weeks 1 through 10 and then week 11 decide that COVID protocols are a problem.
Right.
But I see what you're saying to a certain extent, though.
To hit on the William Buford talk about playing Toledo Liberty. William Buford, 6'6". How tall are you, Kenner?
5'5" and a half. I was joking.
A whole foot taller than you.
And just under a half. Now, I've always said this before. The only people that ever say and a half are usually under 6 feet tall. Have you ever heard anyone say how tall is he? He's about 6'6" and a half. No, 6'6", 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". Only 5'5" people. Only people that are 5 feet, under 6 feet tall, add the half. Like, it makes me feel good. 5'5" and a half.
And a half. And a half.
Like Bond. James Bond. 5'5" and a half.
Did you score in that game, verse?
No, I did not.
Did you put up a shot?
I got blocked.
By who?
6'6" and a half. William Buford.
Oh, goodness.
There you go. 518-1410. Who we got, Kevin?
We got Charles.
Charles, how are you, sir? Welcome. Charles, you there? Charles, call back, man. We'll get you back to the front of the line. We'll make sure we get you in on the show. We do have ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz coming up. We do have ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz coming up on the other side. We'll pick up with this conversation later on in the show. I do want to transition over to college football. We do have ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz in 18 minutes from now, so we'll definitely talk some NFL college football with him. Doug Toby on Facebook, Kev, says Northmont lost 47-0 last week to Springfield. They have to turn around and play them again. Yeah, that's one of the first-round matchups right there. So there's that. Scott says, Mike, one thing you seem to be forgetting, Mike, is these games are being played outside. If these guys, I'm tired of the COVID stuff. Oh my gosh.
Don't let it dominate you, Kenner.
Dominate on site. There you go. But yeah, I mean, there is that debate to it. But I don't, that debate is you're not wrong for those sides of the debate. But that debate is more of playing football in general during this, right? Like week 11 doesn't, week 11 of the high school football season is not more dangerous during COVID than weeks 1 through 10. I mean, that's why I'm not even going there with the COVID stuff from this angle. Like, it's happening. We're playing. Like, they're playing. So we'll see. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, Joel Klatt, of course, who calls the Big Noon Kickoff on Fox, he put out his top 10, Kev, and he's rattled a lot of people. The Bearcats, he doesn't even have in his 1 through 4. He doesn't even have them in his top 7. The Buckeyes, right there at the top. This is what I love about Joel Klatt, though. Joel Klatt is Paul Feinbaum. Joel Klatt, everyone that hates the SEC bias and they hate this, they hate that, but they love Joel Klatt. And by the way, I do love Joel Klatt. Joel's awesome. But Joel Klatt, like, this is what I love, is everyone that hates the bias of ESPN, they don't realize that the bias exists for all networks out there. Fox has the Big Ten game of the week almost pretty much every week. Why do you think Joel Klatt has Ohio State all the way up at number 2?
Exactly.
So, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not against Ohio State being at 2, but let's be real. Like, the biases exist on both sides. Let's just be real. All right, we'll be back in a few moments. 518-1410. Let's chat. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and sunny, a high near 56. Tonight will be mostly clear and cold, a low near 35. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
Did you know that United Healthcare helps connect you to doctors and therapists with 24/7 access to virtual care?
So I could have therapy from my couch?
Yep.
Or a doctor appointment from my car?
If you wanted to.
Wait, you're right. I don't even like when people see me sing in the car. Couch appointment it is. Virtual visits are just one of the ways United Healthcare helps connect you to better health. Learn more at UHC.com. Plan benefits may vary.
Do you have an old sports program, baseball, photo, ticket, or game-used equipment just collecting dust? Sports Investments wants to buy your sports memorabilia. They're also interested in old sports cards and also buying political, aviation, and entertainment items. Bring your collectibles to Sports Investments and get a fair value on the spot. If you decide to sell, they'll pay you immediately. Sports Investments is the largest buyer of memorabilia and cards in the area since 1993. Sports Investments also feature the best selection of autographed memorabilia, sports cards, and other collectible items for sale, including all your favorites like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Bengals, the Browns, the Big Red Machine, UC, XU, UK, NKU, UD, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, just to name a few. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Hi, this is Sales Manager Jason High of Germain Honda Beaver Creek. Personally, inviting you to take advantage of the 0% financing on the Honda HR-V, Passport, and Pilot. Germain Honda has over 200 new Hondas to choose from, including the redesigned 2021 Honda Ridgeline and the 2022 Honda Odyssey, plus over 30 of the brand new 2022 Honda Civics to choose from. Now that's a selection no one else in the region can claim. Route 35 just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way.
Prepare your yard for winter at Menards. Rugged wear gloves can handle any project. A 2-pair pack of cowhide gloves is $9.99 after sale price and 11% off. They're great for raking and spiffing up your lawn for trick-or-treaters. Speaking of trick-or-treaters, don't forget it's your last chance to buy Halloween candy. It's all 11% off. Good through October 30th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Whether you're vaccinated or not, it's important to know the symptoms of COVID and its variants. Fever is the leading sign, and only the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer has been proven accurate with more than 100 clinical studies. Non-contact thermometers have no clinical evidence behind them and cannot be relied on. Be vigilant and seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at exergen.com.
Any supplier can drop a box outside your door. But if you want a partner who delivers great customer service too, rely on Cintas. Your dedicated service reps can deliver what you need to help your business run smoothly. From essential cleaning products to hygienically cleaned apparel, fire protection services to first aid and safety supplies. That service you can't get from a box.
Oh, I'm ready!
Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Dell Technologies advisors are here with the right Windows PC and tech solutions, so you can stop at nothing for your customers. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about.
Young adults of unique determination and experience, an ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know. Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz joins us next, as we'll, of course, dive into college football and NFL. So I started a new thing on the Facebook page today, Kev. It's going to be called Once a Day, DEY, my Who Day. So once a day, to appease you Bengals fans, I will say one nice thing about the Bengals a day. It's going to be called Once a Day.
Okay.
So came across this. It says, here's why you should give major props to Zach Taylor and the Bengals coaching staff. And I agree with this wholeheartedly, actually. Wasn't a big Zach Taylor fan, but you know what? If you're going to base your opinion off of a coach for his failures, you have to make sure you acknowledge the success. And the fact that they're 5-2 right now, 7 weeks into the season, and could potentially be 6-2 as they're heavily favored over the Jets this coming up weekend. I got to make sure I'm giving that praise too. So it's going to be called this segment. It's a very short, brief segment today because that's all I can tolerate. But even on the Facebook page, so I'll even give it the Bengals treatment behind. Let's just be real. So once a day, DEY, once a day. Kenner will say one nice thing about the Bengals. Here's why we should give major props to Zach Taylor and the Bengals coaching staff. Through 7 weeks, Kev, they have had the third least penalties, 30, and they've endured the least penalty yards. They have 0 personal fouls and unnecessary roughness calls, only 1 roughing the passer flag, which was in Jay Morrison on the page today. It was, they lightly touched the helmet of Ben Roethlisberger in that Steelers matchup. So my nice comment of the day, DEY, is that's awesome. Actually, that's one reason this team doesn't beat themselves. They don't. They throw Burrow's interception. Especially as the game, the urgency increases. But to me, they don't beat themselves. They don't, they don't get penalties. They have a lot of composure. That's all coaching, and that's all at the top. I can't tell you, a few weeks ago when the Browns played the Chargers, I was irate because while everyone was complaining about the officiating, I'm like, so we can't get mad at the officiating when they call a face mask that was a face mask.
Right.
You can't get mad at officiating when they call a pass interference that was a pass interference. And although it could have gone either way, I can't believe how fundamentally sound some of the DBs are for Cincinnati. Watching that Ravens game, there's a lot of passing going on in that game.
Yeah.
And a lot of passes were broken up. A lot of, one-on-one coverage, a lot of that. No penalty. To have that much manned coverage, Kev, and to not have any penalties or to, have very little penalties is pretty damn impressive. That is coaching. That's discipline. And they're a young team. So for me, for a team that's as young as the Bengals and a team that is hard-hitting as the Bengals, the fact that they are the third least penalized team in football is pretty damn impressive. They know what they're doing. They're confident out on the field. I'll give it to Zach Taylor for that. So once again, once a day, I say something nice about the Cincinnati Bengals to appease you guys who get your panties in a wad and get all angry at me. This is a way for me to kind of make up for that. So once a day, DEY, Kenner says something nice. There it is.
I got one for you.
Only one a day.
I got one for you. I definitely won't be doing it once a day, but I got this for you. And I said this last week. I think that Logan Wilson is the best player on the Cincinnati Bengals. I know Jamar Chase gets all the wild plays because he's a wide receiver and scores all the touchdowns, and obviously Joe Burrow is a quarterback. But do you know who's second in the NFL in interceptions?
No.
Logan Wilson, linebacker, Cincinnati Bengals. We all know Trayvon Diggs leads the league with 7, but he has 4. So
not 7. Not impressed.
So that's what
that's more than 4. Remember,
and that's what I talk about all the time about playmakers. Like, you need playmakers at every level of the defense. You don't necessarily need the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens, where they got Hall of Famers at defensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, and at safety, you know what I'm saying? But you need one guy at every level of the defense, defensive line, linebacker, and in the secondary that's a playmaker. And Logan Wilson, to my eyes, is that playmaker for the Cincinnati Bengals at the linebacker. I mean, we talked about his 4th down stop against Jacksonville, the strip sack and the interceptions that he got against, I believe he got one against the Lions as well to kind of like flip momentum for them, everything like that. He's a ball player for sure.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll talk more Cincinnati Bengals football with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. There's no way around it. The Bengals, well, they emerged on the scene as true contenders this past Sunday, and it pains me. But they took care of it. They didn't just beat the Ravens. They destroyed the Ravens, and we'll talk about that with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. He's a Raiders fan. In fact, I saw an interesting topic earlier today about which 5-2 team is more impressive right now, or which 5-2 team are you most surprised by, the Bengals 5-2 start or the Raiders? I know everyone wants to, you would assume the Bengals. I think the Raiders, all things considered, the tougher division with Patrick Mahomes and with everything, lots of to go there, having to battle through the coach and Gruden and his their parting ways there. So much going against them, and yet they're 5-2. Then you have the Bengals 5-2. Ravens, even a less than typical Steelers team, is still very tough. Then you got the Browns in there and everything like that. I think that both teams 5-2 starts really impressive, but we'll get into that. We'll ask Jason Fitz coming up. Which 5-2 team is more impressive right now, the Raiders or the Bengals? So we'll get to that with him coming up. David Shawcap says, I like Hater Kenner better. The niceness to the Bengals is disgusting. Just can't please them all. Brian McCoy says, wow, nice Justin is back. At least once a day is better than none. So see, I think we're on to something here. Once a day, DEY. Kenner says something nice about the Bengals. I like the branding of it, to be honest with you. We got stuff on Baker Mayfield, too. Not just about whether or not he'll be ready for Sunday against the Steelers, but there's still contract talks looming, and sounds like he's going to get paid. We'll talk about all that. Jason Fitz next.
Oh, look, it's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash.
We've been expecting you.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
But we have a truck leaving with a big order on Tuesday.
Tina's floor manager retired, leaving her tortilla factory flat out.
What do you mean she's on a silent retreat?
She must fill the role and all those orders.
I oversee production.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV.
And I'm that voice from movies you watch on demand. DirecTV Stream brought us together to save the world.
Maybe not save the world, but DirecTV Stream does bring your live and on-demand favorites together.
Your favorites together.
I just said that.
She just said that.
Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on-demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at DirecTV.com.
Requires high-speed internet and compatible device. Content varies by package and location. Restrictions apply.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers here to tell you about OGW Energy Resources. If you own a home or a business and want to save money, then going solar with OGW Energy Resources is the way to go. OGW Energy Resources have been helping the Miami Valley save money by going solar for over 14 years. There is no better time than now to look into going solar. For more information, check out their website at ogwenergyresources.com. Go solar today. OGW Energy Resources. Your energy, your future. Control it.
Hi, this is Kim Frisco, Executive Director of Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission. On Veterans Day, we honor and remember every man and woman who has ever worn the uniform of our country. Americans who stepped forward and swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution and laws of this great nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We must never forget their service and sacrifice. To my fellow veterans, thank you. God bless you, and may Veterans Day and every day bring you joy in the freedoms our country has because of your sacrifices. We also thank our future veterans serving at home and abroad. To those serving around the world today or transitioning out of the military, we are here for you. Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is available to assist you with your VA benefits and emergency financial assistance. If you need assistance, please contact us at 937-225-4801.
So, what are you sipping? Whether it's our freshly ground coffee to wake you up or an icy Polar Pop cup or Froster to keep you going, our new Sip and Save drink subscription at Circle K will keep you refreshed every day. Join Circle K's Sip and Save and grab any size drink every day for just $5.99 a month. Yeah, start sipping and saving today. Just sign up with your mobile number when you check out at Circle K. Limited time offer at participating locations.
Life is already full of surprises, but your tuition shouldn't be one of them. While education costs rise in the U.S. every year, University of Phoenix is committed to protecting you from rising tuition costs with our tuition guarantee. We lock in your tuition so you can count on fixed, affordable tuition from the moment you enroll to the day you graduate from your program. Learn more at phoenix.edu.
So as you guys know, Mark's gone.
The float artist at Fred's Floral just took off, days before the parade. They need a replacement before business passes them by.
Oh, and who am I going to get to finish the float?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
This is the sound of a popular American motorcycle. It's the sound of freedom, the open road, really good times. And this is what it sounds like with a drunk guy in it. How do you like the sound of that? Cops are cracking down on drunk motorcycle riders. If you ride drunk, you will get caught and you will get arrested. Drunk riding. Over the limit, under arrest. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Hello, I'm Clerk of Court Rob Scott, serving Kettering, Centerville, Moraine, and Washington Township. From October 18th to October 29th, you can come to Kettering Municipal Court and pay off half your fines and costs, and the other half will be waived. There is nothing to fear. Come pay off half your fee.
This is brought to you by Rob Scott, Clerk of Court.
Find the right hire right now. Indeed helps you attract, screen, and interview quality candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz will join us coming up here momentarily. He'll call in as soon as he's able to step away for a few. So you're stuck with us. I mean, it's unfortunate. I get it. But, it is what it is. But we welcome you back. We finally have time to jump into a little college football. So regardless of, I don't care what Joel Klatt's poll necessarily says, but at the end of the day, it is interesting when you look at the way that he has his top 10 shaped up. I know we talked about our top 10 briefly. And for me, Kev, my top 10 features Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Alabama 3, and I had Oklahoma at 4 with Cincinnati at 5 on the outside looking in.
Right.
And, through talk, I could honestly, Cincinnati should be at 4. I probably should not have bumped Cincinnati all the way out, especially if the reason I bumped Cincinnati is because they only beat Navy by 1 possession. I can't punish them for poor play, but then keep Oklahoma right there. Even though I did bump up Oklahoma back, Oklahoma looks vulnerable. In fact, if everyone that right now we're talking the most about, I know everyone says Cincinnati. Cincinnati's vulnerable because unfortunately for them, as we just saw this past weekend, winning isn't good enough. You have to win pretty.
Right.
Oklahoma can win ugly, and I still think they're fine. As long as they go undefeated and win a Big 12 championship, they're fine. But the problem is that they're flirting with disaster. They've been able to escape a couple games that they've probably had no business winning. The Texas game coming back the way that they did, and then, of course, to what they just did against Kansas in very ugly form this past weekend. So at the end of the day, you look at that, and it's like, okay, well, I can't punish Cincinnati and then leave Oklahoma there. If I'm going to punish both of them for struggling in a win, I need to punish Oklahoma more because that was Cincinnati's first shaky game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's Oklahoma's second, third, and fourth shaky game of the season. Now, yes, they're undefeated. So I'm going to flip-flop mine. I'm going to keep Cincinnati at 4 and Oklahoma at 5. Not that it technically matters, but it is starting to kind of shape up a bit. But Joel Klatt, Kev, has Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Alabama 3. He has Michigan at 4. He has Oklahoma 5, Michigan State 6, Oregon 7, and Cincinnati at number 8. And the thing about all of this is that the thing I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around is really when you look at Michigan being there at number 4. I'm trying to just make sense of it. So Michigan, their opponents are 19 and 30 this year. Michigan State's opponent. Michigan's opponents are 27 and 25. They don't have a top 25 win. They don't have a signature win. Outside, they haven't even played anyone good that's within the Big Ten. The first good team that they are playing is coming up this weekend. So it's just one of those things where we're talking about the brand biases all the time. And we get so tired of the SEC getting the benefit of the doubt. But what do you think's going on with Michigan right here from Joel Klatt? This is why I always tell people, stop with the getting mad at the biases within sports networks because you're just mad that the bias isn't for your team. Right. Because when the bias is for the Big Ten, I don't see anybody having a problem with the bias. But Michigan has no business being in Joel Klatt. I mean, it's Joel Klatt's top 4. I guess they do have business being there. But they don't have Michigan is not a top 4 team. And I think that they have benefited from a lot of top programs in college football, fumbling at this point, this far into the season. But they have done what they usually don't do, and that's win games that they should be winning. They've won everything that they should have won. But they have no business being at number 4. That is a clear result of Joel Klatt and Fox's relationship with the Big Ten. That's that bias showing, which you guys are okay with, even if it is that team up north. You're okay with Ohio State being at number 2. You're okay with Michigan being at number 4. You're okay with Michigan State being at number 6, with the Bearcats being all the way back at number 8. That's what I'm talking about. There's bias in every sports network out there. Mm-hmm. Now, you can call it bias, or you can call it, hey, we watch a lot. A lot of the SEC, a lot of the ESPN guys, they're SEC alums. They went to an SEC school. They watch those games. They don't watch. You can't watch every team out there. We don't watch every team out there. We try to do our best we can to kind of get, glimpses and snippets of each team, but we haven't watched every team. So it's not done to be horrible or to be, malicious with it or anything like that. But I do. This just kind of fascinated me. I'm like, really, Joel Klatt, Michigan at number 4. I just can't get on board with that. Not because it's that team up north, but because there's no justification for it. Cincinnati should be at number 4 or at number 5. But I just found the Michigan thing is pretty egregious, if you ask me.
Where'd you have Michigan in yours?
It would, I guess I should probably pull that up just to make sure. I believe I had them at like 6 or 7. I'd have to.
I have Michigan at 7 in my poll. As far as Joel Klatt's poll is concerned, we should be happy that they don't have Michigan. He doesn't have Michigan State at 5, so it could be billed as a top 5 matchup. You know what I mean? Because let's be real, man. You're 100% correct. This is what guys from networks do. They do Big 10 and Big 12 games. So most of the film they watch is about Big 10 teams, about Big 12 teams. They're watching those teams mostly. So it's going to have some biases in there. And this is the network that he works for. So you think he's going to be like, yeah, the big game that I'm covering the number 25 team and number 20 of team. No, he's going to build up the game that he's calling and everything like that. And for people that don't think, like people like a Joel Klatt or Danny Cannell or any other media guy out there that puts out their top 10 poll has a point to prove or has clout or has the ability to sway someone's opinion, they 100% do. So as I'm looking at his, and I actually kind of like what he does, he gives 10 and then he says the almost schools. So his almost are Kentucky, Notre Dame, Pitt, and Oklahoma State. I'm going to steal that for when I drop my poll next week. I'm going to have my almost teams that made it. I'm looking at this and I see, oh, okay. He still has Iowa in the top 10. I can't get behind that. I can't get behind that Iowa in top 10 either. This is hard. And that's another thing we all got to realize it. This is hard.
The last couple of years have been easy because there's a lot of really good teams. I'm not saying these teams are good, but I think
a cut above.
Yeah,
there was two or three teams a cut above everybody, and then it was a bunch of in the middle or whatever. But like this year, I guess it's Georgia a cut above everybody else, and then everybody else is kind of mushed into this because every team has flaws. Can Georgia pass the ball when they need to pass the ball? They're a power running team. What are they going to do when they have a blown coverage for 80-yard touchdown? And then they actually have to pass in the second half. You look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma finds themselves in these weird games that they can't score the ball, and then games where they can't
switches.
Yeah, and games that they can't stop anybody from scoring. Obviously, you see their situation is who they're playing. And then you look at Oregon. They kind of remind me of a quote-unquote Jim Tressel team. They're just doing enough to get by. They find a way to get by week after week. Then you look at Ohio State. Is that defense really fixed? And you look at Alabama. Man, that secondary don't look like the Alabama secondary that I'm used to looking at. I'm looking at Tennessee throw bombs over people's heads. They got flaws. Michigan, their flaw is they don't have any explosive playmakers since the one wide receiver got hurt week 1. Then you look at Notre Dame, like the quarterback position in Notre Dame, like they're out here flip-flopping 3 dudes at the quarterback position. Then you look at Michigan State, just like Georgia. Are they explosive? Can you have explosive plays outside of the run game? That's a question mark for them. And then in mine, Ole Miss, do you play any defense? Ole Miss looks like a Big 12 team on defense. So every team out there has major question marks. So I think that's why this is so hard to come up with a top 10, and you'll never have a top 10 somebody all agrees with. I'll put out a top 10 on Twitter and my mentions blew up, and like my mentions never get blown up for anything I ever say, but if it's college football related and it's a poll, people are, oh, come on, really like what do you want me to say? Where's your top 10? I want to see that.
I mean, yeah, look, and this is why I love the 14 playoff, by the way. I say it every week. I'm never going to stop saying it. The 14 playoff is the best system out there. Well, and the reason I say that is because football is flawed to begin with. Who was on stream? We're on Facebook right now. Where'd it go? So Paul on Facebook says that the whole college ranking is a scam. Hardly any team has a win. Well, from the hardly any team has a win, I'll separate that from the discussion on this. But when you say the whole college ranking is a scam, it's a scam because there's no other better way to do it.
Yeah, it's 130 teams.
There's not a good way to do it. We just spent an hour and a half talking about the playoff system for the OHSAA. Like we're questioning, like our big thing is they have too many teams in. I actually think that their system's not terrible. The point system, I think that it actually is a true reflection of who these teams are. I think the OHSAA's playoff point system is pretty dang good. I think where they got it wrong is how many teams they have in for this upcoming season. I would love it to go back to 224, but we've been on that. But my point is there is no easy way to do it because college athletics isn't fair to begin with. It's not. You're telling me, and I say the same thing every time, you are telling me that Bowling Green and Miami of Ohio and Ohio U and all these schools, Ball State, they're all D1 teams.
Good way to bring in Ball State for a change.
There you go. They're all D1 teams, just like Alabama and Ohio State, right? So now we have a playoff for all the D1 teams. No, it's not. So spare me the 12 team, the 18, the 16 team, the every team gets in format. There's not a fair system out there. So if you don't like the 4 team because it's not fair, well, unless you can counter with a fair playoff system, I don't care if you don't think it's not fair. And just like you don't care if I like the 4 team, we don't care about anyone else's opinion about the playoff. And the reason I mainly don't care about anyone's opinion on the playoff is because most people just say it's not fair. And you're right, it's not. But there's no such thing as a fair way to do it. There is no way out there that you are going to create a system that gives Bowling Green just as much of an opportunity to win a national championship as Alabama and Ohio State. It's just not going to happen. So that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah. And even then, people complain about the NFL because the NFC least, you have a 8-8 team potentially hosting a playoff game. Not potentially, that is what happened. So even then people complain. But at the end of the day, the best team always wins the national championship, though. I don't know the last time a team won a title that we were like, oh, that wasn't the best team. In basketball, college basketball every year, the best team never wins the national championship. All right? I don't think any of you follow college baseball enough to know that the best team never wins the College World Series, right? And, Major League Baseball. Astros, Dodgers, if that was the World Series, it's rare that you could have potentially ended up with the 2 best teams in baseball in the World Series. But that's, you got one half of that, right? The Astros are the best. But rarely does the best team in baseball ever win the World Series. The NBA, that's the one sport that the best team always seems to win it, barring any injuries, right, Kev? Like, it's all, like, we know that if Kyrie is on Brooklyn and they're all healthy, that's the team that's winning the championship. The Lakers could put up a fight. But it is what it is. So my point is I don't want to hear that, the 4 team is not fair. There's no such thing as a fair system. So it is what it is as far as that's concerned. Now, with that being said, so people are on me because I said that, well, Michigan hasn't played anybody. Well, Keith Tolliver says that OSU's top big game win is ? They don't have that signature win either. But this is where common sense in football does have to come into play a little bit common sense is it's a word that ticks people off because it makes it sound like I'm just taking a jab at somebody. But you know what? I'm backed up today. I said something nice about the Bengals. I haven't had the hater mic out yet today, so spare me. But with that being said, you take a look at this, it's like Ohio State. They're the only team right now. Georgia and Ohio State are the only 2 teams who are clicking on all cylinders right now. Ohio State is the only team right now that has actually shown improvement in their deficiencies. No other team out, like Alabama's defense doesn't look better. Alabama looks the same now as they did to start the season, right, Kev? Like, they don't look any different. Georgia looks the same, which is good. I mean, they're consistent. Oklahoma looks the same and consistent. The only team that looks like they have actually improved from their deficiencies to start was the Buckeyes with C.J. Stroud and the Buckeyes with their defense. And I'm not saying that the Buckeyes have an elite defense by any means, but they don't have to be elite because that offense, no offense is better than Ohio State's offense. Between Trevion Henderson, between that receiving core, between C.J. Stroud, who's a Heisman candidate, as much as Bama's offense is pretty solid, I'll take Ohio State's offense this year over Alabama's offense right now. And defensively, if what we have seen is said to be true, the last couple of weeks, we'll see against Penn State on Saturday. If Ohio State's defense continues at this pace, there's no question about it. They're the second best team in college football. Well, but the schedule, because of this, sometimes teams have earned the benefit of the doubt. Alabama is one of those teams that they've earned the benefit of the doubt that they don't have to beat anybody for you to know that there's somebody. Ohio State's kind of the same. You look at the flow of the season, you see that things change over time, who's getting better, all this. Ohio State was not the same team at the beginning as they are right now. Well, they lost at the best opportune time. If you're going to lose early. Mm-hmm. That's why that Michigan-Ohio State game is such a big deal every year. There's always so much on the line from the rivalry perspective all the way to the playoff perspective. You can't, if that's your only loss, that stinks because the timing of that, it's hard to overcome a loss late in the season. Almost impossible.
Got a question for you.
Yep.
Big noon kickoff this Saturday. Number 6 Michigan at number 8 Michigan State. Whomever wins, if the winner has a convincing win over the other, do they jump up into your top 4?
Repeat that one more time.
Number 6 Michigan at number 8 Michigan State this Saturday. Whoever wins, if it's Michigan, if it's Michigan State, whoever, if one of those has a convincing win over the other, how far do they jump up in your poll?
It's actually a good question. 1 second. Let me pull up. Where are they in the actual AP poll right now?
Michigan is 6. Michigan State is 8.
So this is a huge week for the Big Ten, and here's why. The Big Ten's biggest matchups just so happen to fall on the Saturday before the first college football playoff poll that comes out. I had not thought about that. I just keep thinking about Bama continues to win, they're there. Ohio State continues to win, they're there. Cincinnati continues to win, they're there. Georgia's there, and Oklahoma. But you're right. If Michigan gets that signature win, they could propel up. Same thing with Michigan State. I think Michigan State has, they're the ones that I think both are in the same boat where you're looking at them like, I don't know if they're the real deal or not. They've had their schedules have been they've not been good. Cincinnati's schedule's been better than what they've had to face so far. So this will be their first signature win coming up. But I think that what's nice for the Big Ten is that it comes right as the first poll's coming out. I tell you what, if I'm the Bearcats, I'm worried because Ohio State, if they beat Penn State, they're in the top 4. And the winner of Michigan State, I think they replace Oklahoma. And then I think you got Georgia, Alabama. I think you see 2-2. And let's just say that it's not. And let's just say Ohio State beats Penn State and they want to keep Ohio State out of the top 4. Then that's Oklahoma. But I do think that the winner of the Big Noon Kickoff is most likely going to be in the top 4, right?
I think so. I think you have to.
I don't think the Bearcats are in the top 4 when it comes out. And that's not me throwing shade or trying to stir the pot. I don't see it. This is where it becomes a problem with their schedule. Even if they blow their opponent out. Oh, how are you going to knock them back from number 2? That's the AP poll. That's right. That's what's so genius about this college football playoff poll is they're like, how could you bump them back? We didn't bump them back. It's our first poll.
Yeah. I mean, they have the Keith Byers method. Let the season play out and then they rank them. But, us being locked in on college football, we lock in on college football, the rankings the day after the national championship. They drop ESPN's ratings. They drop CBS. They drop ratings for the upcoming season way too early. Top 25 rankings and everything like that. All right. Post spring practice rankings. All right. Post transfer portal rankings. All right. Rankings going into fall camp. Rankings coming out of fall camp. And then you get the AP poll. So they give it to us. You know why? Because we love it. We love it. We eat it up.
Joe Lenardi with ESPN bracketology, I'll never forget that. I mean, he works 3 days a year. And 2 years ago, the contract that he got with ESPN, he actually starts now in November. He now works 6 months a year. He starts in November and goes through March. And it's because he actually now I think it's year round because he did the latest contract. He's full, he's working year round for ESPN. He's putting out bracketology reports in June. Wright State was in a bracketology report in June. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Wright State did a bracket. Oh my gosh, shut up, Justin. You're a nerd if you post this. It's June and July and August. But his stuff used to start in January.
The players ain't even on campus.
Yeah. His stuff used to start coming out in January. Now it's coming out sooner. Why? Because people love the polls and all that stuff. I mean, like I always say, the only people that love polls more than strippers are football fans. I mean, they're college athletics fans. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So at this point for me, but yeah, Kev, I'm kind of thinking that stinks for Cincinnati that the Big Ten has 2 premier games right before the first playoff poll comes out. And you already have Alabama and Georgia in the mix and Oklahoma. If I had to put money on it, they're not like Ohio State losing. Cincinnati has to be the biggest Penn State fans right now. Because the best chance that Cincinnati has of making the top 4 in the first poll that comes out is Ohio State losing to Penn State. Because if not, if Ohio State routes Penn State, which I'm anticipating, if Michigan beats Michigan State, I don't know who Oklahoma has, but whatever. Oklahoma, let's just say they win, and then you have Penn State, and then you have Georgia, and Alabama. So that's Ohio State. I'm going to say Michigan wins. I'm predicting Michigan to win this weekend. So it's Ohio State in the mix for the top 4, Michigan in the mix for the top 4, Ohio State in the mix for the top 4, Alabama in the mix for the top 4, and Georgia in the mix for the top 4. Georgia's locked at number 1. No doubt about it. They're locked at number 1. But the Cincinnati Bearcats, they're in trouble. They're not in the first poll. When it comes out on Friday, or when it comes out next Tuesday, a week from today, they're not in. I think it's going to be Georgia 1. I think you'll have Alabama, or actually I think it'll be Georgia 1. If Ohio State blows out Penn State, they'll be 2. I think you'll put Alabama 3. And it comes down to Michigan, Oklahoma, or Cincinnati for 4. Cincinnati's not getting that 4th spot. So get ready, Bearcat fans. For those of you Bearcat fans out there, get ready to be outraged because they're not getting in the top 4 in the first poll that comes out. They will be number 5. I do know this. I can guarantee 2 things. I can guarantee you Georgia's number 1, and I can guarantee you that Cincinnati's number 5. That's where we are at. Cincinnati will not be in the top 4 no matter what happens, no matter how bad they blow out their opponent this weekend. They are not in the top 4. Now, someone just said, well, what if Georgia loses? Because I think Georgia has Florida, right, this weekend? Okay, let's say Georgia loses. Ohio State beats Penn State. Ohio State's number 1. Michigan beats Michigan State. They're not number 2, but Alabama would be 2. So Ohio State 1, Alabama 2. Oklahoma wins big. They're 3. And then it's between Cincinnati and Michigan for 4. And guess who's probably going to get that rub? Michigan. They're not getting in. Keith Tolliver, I don't know. Keith, who's your team? I could tell you're not a Buckeye fan because you're doing everything you can to try to hate on Ohio State. And like I said, sometimes common sense just has to kick in with Ohio State, that sometimes Ohio State, they get the benefit of the doubt because it's Ohio State. And they deserve it. They arguably have the best quarterback in the country. They have the best running back in the country. They have the best wide receivers in the country. They have the best offensive line in the country. Sure, they're a little shaky on defense, but when you have that high-powered offense like that, who's stopping them? Georgia's defense is the only one equipped to slow Ohio State's offense down. Not happening. Not happening. Ohio State, it's called being real, Justin. If it's called being real, then be real. You can't look at Ohio State and say they're not the best damn team and they're one of the top 2 teams in the country right now. They're the only team right now that is playing dominant football outside of Georgia. Alabama, no. They've showed some weakness the last couple weeks. Oh man, they pulled away and beat Tennessee. Yeah, the 3 quarters. Tennessee was right there with them for 3 quarters. That, like Ohio State, they got some of their weak stuff out of the first couple weeks with the freshman quarterback. They've been dominating ever since. It's called being real. That's what he said. Let's continue talking about this. We'll be back in a moment. I'm going to get the hater mic out now. You maybe do it, Keith. See what you did? We'll be back. Hour 3 next week.
It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
The whole goal is to point people to something bigger.
What if the news was different and covered more than one side of the story? Not just the who or the what, but the why. What if it took you closer?
It's information and people want it.
So you can make up your own mind. What if the news lets you think for yourself? Introducing a new point of view. Yours. Newsy. Watch Newsy free on your TV. Learn more at newsy.com.
Still looking for that one special voice that makes you fall in love with podcasts? The one is out there and free on Spotify. With over 2 million shows and today's most talked about podcasts, Spotify is the best place to find that one special show that makes you laugh, keeps you interested, and keeps you listening for more. Whatever you're into, get way more into it with a podcast. Find the one you've been listening for right now, free on Spotify.
The Kidder's Cash Contest is a company-wide contest for your chance to win $1,000 daily. No purchase necessary to enter or win. You will receive an email confirming entry. One winner will be chosen for each day. Contest is open to U.S. residents 18 years or older. Contest is sponsored by participating Alpha Media stations, Aptivada or their parent, subsidiary, and affiliated entities, advertising agencies, promotional partners, and members of families or households are not eligible to enter or win. Odds of winning depend on number of entries received. Contest is subject to all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations, void where prohibited. Participants must sign all contest release and waiver forms to be eligible to win the prize. The contest begins on Monday, October 4th, 2021, and ends on Friday, October 29th, 2021. To participate in the contest, you must listen to the participating radio station at the specified times and enter the word that wins at wingam.com. Contest sponsors are not responsible for technical failures or malfunctions of any kind. For full contest rules, please visit wingam.com. Decisions of station management with respect to the contest are final.
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it?
What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
Dayton Barrel Works Bourbon and Whiskey Bash is Saturday, November 20th, noon till 3 p.m. Over 40 bourbons and whiskeys to sample. For tickets, call 937-228-2337. Dayton Barrel Works, 318 East 2nd Street in Dayton.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Football fans, the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show is officially back. Every Sunday morning starting at 11:30 a.m., College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and Justin Kinner will be live at Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. The guys will recap the biggest games from college football Saturday, including your Ohio State Buckeyes. The guys will also get you set up for the day's biggest NFL matchups, featuring your Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, and more. It's the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show, live from Frickers on 741, Sunday mornings at 11:30 on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local. What are you gonna miss? He's stricken up. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
(518-1410). 518-1410. I've been a big advocate for the Cincinnati Bearcats all season. I still think that they do have a very good chance of making the playoff, but I think two things can be true. I think they have a good chance of making the playoff, but I don't think that they're going to be in the first college football playoff ranking that comes out. A couple reasons for that. The AP poll top four and the college football playoff four have never matched pick for pick in the history of the college football playoff. The college football playoff always does something to decipher itself and separate itself from the AP poll. So that's one reason I believe that if the college football playoff committee is trying to, make a stance and take a stance and say, hey, we are not that poll. We don't care about that poll. That poll means nothing to us. Then I think that the Bearcats can be vulnerable to that. The other thing to keep in mind, Kev, is this is such a big weekend in college football. When you look at some of the matchups, I'll let you get into that in a moment, but Georgia against Florida. Florida, Georgia wins. Georgia's locked to number one. We know this. Bama, and I'm trying to see, where does Alabama fall in this week, Kev?
I think Bama has a bye week.
Not a good week for them to have a bye week, but they do have a bye week, so there you go. Okay, so bye week for Alabama. But I think Bama's in the top four right now on Tuesday. Actually, it's a good thing for Alabama. With the way chaos has been circling college football, they don't have to be a victim this coming up Saturday, that's for sure. So Georgia will be in the first college football playoff poll at number one. I think Alabama will most likely be at either 2 or 3 or 4. I think they're in the top 4. Doesn't matter. I think Ohio State, when they beat Penn State on Saturday, again, they're an 18.5-point favorite at home against Penn State. I think they cover and then some. I think Ohio State will be in the top 4. And then it comes down to Oklahoma, and you look at Oklahoma, and they have their game this weekend too. You got to understand, too, of course, this damn thing keeps resetting on me. I hate this computer. I'm about to throw it through the damn wall. But Oklahoma, with their game against Texas Tech this coming up weekend, Kev, they just fired their coach. Oklahoma's most likely going to win big. So you have Oklahoma versus Texas Tech. Michigan versus Michigan State, top 10 showdown. Top 25 showdown in Ohio State against Penn State. Big matchup, of course, between Florida and Georgia. That's huge right there. That's big SEC matchup right there. You have all that going on, then the Bearcats are facing Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're in the top 4. Let's just say this scenario plays out, Kev. Georgia wins. They beat Florida. Ohio State blows out Penn State. Alabama's on a bye, but I think they're a lock in there. Oklahoma routes Texas Tech, and Michigan beats Michigan State. My 4 that I envision for the first playoff poll release: Georgia 1, I'm going to put Ohio State 2. Not that it matters, but I'm going to put Ohio State 2 in Alabama 3. Probably switch them around however you want. That fourth spot, it comes down to Oklahoma. It comes down to Michigan. It comes down to Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati's getting the rub over Michigan, who would just have a top 10 win right there. And I don't think that they're going to get the rub over Oklahoma, who's been sitting there the whole time. No disrespect to Cincinnati. I just think, and people could say the whole body of work, and, well, Cincinnati beat Notre Dame, and Oklahoma's almost lost to this team. It is recency bias, and the point about human beings. Recency bias plays a role. I don't see Cincinnati in the top 4. I think they're 5. And for all the reasons we discussed last week, the committee will keep them at 5 because that's what's safe for them. Put them at 5. They still have a shot. It's not the final poll. Let more chaos happen to justify putting them there. But if you put the Bearcats there, you have to keep them there, because if the Bearcats win out, you can't bump them back because you want to wait to the final poll to decide that, oh, yeah, Oklahoma's schedule was tougher. So you either take a stance and say Oklahoma's schedule's tougher, that's why they're number 4. Ohio State's schedule's tougher, that's why they're number 4. Michigan's schedule's tougher, that's why they're number 4. They have to take a stance early. The Bearcats, I say 0%. Unless 2 of the top teams that we just talked about go down, 0% chance that they're in the poll on Tuesday.
And judging by this season, that can happen. Yep. But the thing about it is 2 things, actually. They're playing Tulane this weekend. And don't forget, week 1, Tulane lost to Oklahoma 40-35. So that's a like opponent. So that's an argument to be made for UC being ahead of Oklahoma. 2, the first college football playoff is never the same way when the season ends. Mm-hmm. So I know the UC fan base is going to be crazy if they're not in the first rankings in the top 4. Don't even worry about it, because this can work in your favor. Because if you're playing Tulane and Tulsa and everything like that, Sooners still got their big rival, Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma is kind of like Michigan State. Oklahoma looks down on Oklahoma State. They kind of try to little brother them. But don't think for 1 second that the Oklahoma fan base, the Oklahoma State's boosters and everybody isn't thinking about Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12 and leaving them in disarray. So that's still a game that they can lose later on in the season. And also, you got Georgia and Florida. I know we're penciling in like we do every single week. Oh, if they just go ahead and take care of business and win, they'll be here. It just don't happen like that. And this season is proven it just don't happen like that. So if I'm a UC fan, I'm just being patient, because I've seen it throughout the entire tenure of the college football playoff that week 1 ain't week 6 when it really matters. Week 6 is when it really matters of the college football playoff. So just keep doing what you're doing. Win your games, and cross your fingers.
Oh, look, we know anything can happen, but like the thing is those 2 scenarios I laid out, and I even said if Florida beats Georgia, is Georgia out of the top 4?
Yes.
I mean, but then Ohio State and Alabama are in the top 4 with 1 loss. Like, why is that? Like, why? And not questioning you, but like, that's what I'm saying is like the committee tries to remember it's full body of work. It's not what you did recently. That's not true. It's never been what you did recently. So I said, okay, if Georgia loses, then Alabama and Ohio State 1 and 2, whatever order you want. Michigan, let's say Oklahoma moves up to 3 because they win. They could easily lose to Texas Tech or whatever, but I'm just saying, let's say one of the top 4 teams loses. Let's say it's Georgia because that's the biggest domino of them all.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Cincinnati's on the outside looking in. I said if I had to guess, Georgia, if chalk, which has not happened once this year,
right?
I'm going chalk anyways because I don't feel like racking my brain anymore. Georgia would be 1, Ohio State 2, Bama 3, Michigan 4, Oklahoma 5, Cincinnati 6. That would be my first college football playoff poll guesstimation a week from tonight. If things
would that be your guesstimation, or is that the Kenner poll?
No, that's what I think the playoff poll will look like.
Okay.
Not that it matters to people. They see it, they'll get angry. But again, for me, I would have Cincinnati at 4 over Michigan and Oklahoma, because I think that although Michigan will have the best win against Michigan State, I'm not really convinced Michigan State and Notre Dame are that different. I don't think the gap is that wide. You're not going to convince me. Is it at East Lansing? I think we've answered. Mm-hmm. So it's a road win for Michigan. Michigan and Cincinnati would almost be 1A and 1B at that point. I don't think you can go wrong with either being put there. But Cincinnati's the better story. So, I would put Cincinnati at 4, but Georgia 1, OSU 2, Bama 3. I'd put Cincinnati at 4, or Oklahoma or Michigan at 4. I think it's one of those 3, but we'll see. But that's how I envision it. I think that's about right.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. The committee looks for a reason not to put a non-Power 5 team in there. They're just waiting for the one reason they need to keep them out. And for better or worse, that's how it is. But the good thing about this whole situation is it's going to play itself out. And ultimately, if Florida can pull off the upset against Georgia, that in the long run, I think is better for UC, because that would set up a 1-loss Georgia and a 1-loss Bama in the SEC championship game. So you will eliminate that whole 2 teams from the SEC getting into the college football playoff. You would eliminate that, because I'm a firm believer that if Georgia is in the SEC championship undefeated and Bama is in there with 1 loss and they win, both of those teams will be in. So you better be some Florida fans, you better be some Notre Dame fans, and obviously you better hope you win.
I love it. It's going to be chaotic, that's for sure. So some of this coming in. And Doug Toby says Ohio State offense is a nightmare for any of the 3 playoff teams if we win out. And I think that's the thing. Everyone, Georgia, you kind of get to see what the committee values too. I mean, Georgia's going to be, they're undefeated. That's why they're number 1. But let's say Georgia has a loss, Ohio State has a loss. It's going to be, okay, what does the committee value more, defense or offense? Because I think as dominant as Georgia's defense is, I think Ohio State's offense is just as dominant on that end. As good as Bryce Young and the offense is for Alabama, it's still not as good as Ohio State's. And we kind of knew that coming in. That's what made everyone hit the panic button a couple games into the season, is C.J. Stroud looked like a freshman making his debut. Because of that.
How dare he?
It really, and TreVeyon Henderson looked like a freshman in his debut. It like a lot of key positions were being, headlined by young freshman players. They needed a few, some young players need a year or 2 to get comfortable. These guys needed a couple weeks. And now look, I think you have 2 Heisman candidates most likely in C.J. Stroud and TreVeyon Henderson when it's done. I think that they're in good shape. But yeah, Doug, I agree with you on that. Lamar Shelley, Kev, asked, if Cincinnati can't make the final playoff poll, does Luke Fickell stay? I think Luke Fickell staying regardless of that is still up in the air because, let's say Cincinnati makes the playoff. That could be his tip of the hat to Cincinnati, saying thanks for everything. Thanks for getting me to the point where my name is being brought up for big jobs. Because I thought when he lost that Ohio State job after that interim year where it just went to hell, that was the last time Ohio State lost to Michigan, by the way. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that dude would ever get a big Power 5 head coaching job again. I thought Cincinnati made sense, Ohio ties. But the fact that he's been able to resurrect his career in Cincinnati and have his name thrown out for like the jobs like LSU and USC, I think, he could be intrigued by those. The money's going to be there because those 2 programs are desperate to not so much get it right, but to get a name. Mm-hmm. Luke Fickell's a name. As crazy as I wouldn't have thought that 2-3 years ago, but man, the dude's a name now. USC, there's a reason Mike Tomlin's name was brought up that he shot down in pretty impressive fashion today. So Lamar says, if Cincinnati can't make the final playoff poll, does Luke Fickell stay? I don't know. It's a toss-up. I don't think the results at the end of the season matter. I think it just really comes to what does he envision for his future. I would love to see him stay and be a part of the journey into the Big 12.
Right.
How cool will it be to take a hot Cincinnati team into the Big 12 and dominate right away? If Cincinnati loses him, they're in a tough spot, transitioning to a new coach, taking a step back, trying to recreate that momentum going into the Big 12 here in a few years. So I'm hoping he stays. Right. Because if he makes the playoff, that proves you can do it. And I think he stays. But if he doesn't, I think there's a better chance he leaves if they don't make it.
He ain't going to LSU. I wouldn't recommend anybody take that LSU job. If he goes anywhere, if I was a part of the inner circle of the Fickell family, I would be saying, obviously, stay at UC. But my second choice, if you got to go, I will go to USC. I wouldn't touch that LSU job. I mean, we've seen the craziest things in the world happen down there at LSU, man, from winning the national championship to all right, you're out of here after a COVID year and a year like they're having this year, they're already firing the dude. I just wouldn't want that type of, I guess pressure is the correct term. I just wouldn't want that. I would want to go to a place where you have an understanding all right, this is going to take a minute to rebuild and get things back on track. So if and I keep saying if he decides to leave UC, I think it would be USC for him out there. But I think there's a strong chance that he actually does stay with the Bearcats, because I see the path there. Yes, there's still a lot of wacky things that need to go on for them to make it. But like you said, if he and the Bearcats make the college football playoff, why do you leave? Because you're going to be headed to the Big 12 in a matter of years. So then you won't even have to worry about maybe if we make it. All we got to do is do what every other team from a Power 5 team does: win our games, maybe lose one, and we'll most likely be in there, because Oklahoma, they're going to the SEC and everything like that. And Oklahoma's lost one conference game year after year and still made the college football playoff. So I think if they can make it in, I think he rides it out with the Bearcats.
You think the USC job's better than LSU? Brand-wise, yes. But I think they're both the same situation. And if anything, you look at LSU, what they went, Saban, Les, Ordre. They've had 3 straight coaches win national championships there. USC's a disaster. Like USC, every year it's like Texas.
But it's about relationships, though, too.
But I mean, if you think he's effective at USC, he's just as effective at LSU. And
but does he have a relationship with the LSU people?
Does he have the relationship with USC?
The USC AD hired him at UC.
But I don't think he doesn't have to have a relationship at LSU to go there. If he feels like LSU gives him the chance to win a national championship, I mean, I would think the easier path to a championship is USC. But why has that been such a cesspool then? Why has that been such a disaster? Like USC is a program that you look at, you're like, why are they so bad all the time? And I think that's a gamble. I think you go to LSU. I mean, Nick Saban wins national championship. Les Miles wins the national championship. Edo wins the national championship. I mean, there's at least there's some stability there that, you know, even in crisis and down years and coach to coach, a coach can come in and build a national championship. And I think that there's at least something to be said about that. USC is always, look, it's California. It's USC.
Go hang out with LeBron.
You're closer to being the program in that conference than you are to being the program in the SEC. That's the one thing that USC has going for it. But what a mess.
Big mess.
Doug Toby says USC cheerleaders are hotter.
All righty then.
So
speaking of the problems down there at LSU.
That's why Edo brings in his own women. I'm just saying, you know, the cheerleaders aren't any good. I'll bring my own girls in. They can have their kids participate in the drills and all that stuff, man. Yeah. All right, Kev. So you said you had what was your little game you had?
Oh, yeah. Let me bring that up.
With that, we'll step away for a few moments. We'll definitely get into that. Talk some NFL, our top 5, bottom 5 coming up around the corner. I'm telling you right now, I actually have the Cincinnati Bengals in my top 5. I'll tell you why. No, it's not a backhanded compliment. I'm being 1,000,000% serious. The Cincinnati Bengals are in my top 5. I'll explain when we come back. Plus, NFL top 5, bottom 5. Kev Nash will bring us a segment as well. Don't go anywhere.
Cheer to victory. Touchdown Bengals. Get some points up on that board and win a game for Cincinnati.
Oh, look, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
We've been expecting you.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and sunny, a high near 56. Tonight will be mostly clear and cold, a low near 35. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane, making buying propane easy since 1952, offering budget billing and pre-buy options. Find out more at culletpropane.com.
You love Zoom for video meetings? Now, choose Zoom to power your phone communications too. Zoom Phone works seamlessly within the Zoom app as your business phone system. Zoom Phone's secure HD audio and enterprise-grade reliability keep you connected to your teams and your customers. And it's easy to use on mobile, desktop, or desk phone. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Zoom, how the world connects.
Hey there, what are you doing today? Would whatever it is be easier with faster, more reliable home internet? If you said yes, we have good news. Viasat offers high-speed satellite internet wherever you live, even if cable providers don't go there. So you can get online today and tomorrow. Go to Viasat.com/internet now and save up to $150 on select home plans. That's Viasat.com/internet now. Minimum 24-month service term. Service is not available in all areas. See Viasat.com for additional terms and conditions.
OHMB 803342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate. 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Procter & Gamble, the company behind some of your favorite brands such as Tide and Pampers, is hiring technicians at the Dayton Mixing Center. From day one, P&G offers a competitive rate of $18.50 plus vacation and a comprehensive benefits package, including medical, dental, and 401k. Text PG Dayton to 25,000 to apply today.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Fever is the leading symptom of COVID and the flu, and the only way to reliably detect fever is with an accurate thermometer. Be vigilant and be accurate with the Exergen Temporal Scanner, proven in more than 100 clinical studies. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers. They are proven to be inaccurate and will not reliably detect a fever that might mean COVID. Be sure to seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Learn more at Exergen.com.
This flu season update is sponsored by Exergen. It's easy to put off a flu shot. The season is long, but CBS News' Dr. Tara Narula says you should get one as soon as you can.
We all think of the flu as, well, it's just the flu, but the reality is the flu can have serious consequences. It can evolve into other complications.
Fever is the #1 COVID symptom, so be safe with an accurate thermometer. Only Exergen is proven accurate in more than 100 studies. Learn more at Exergen.com.
At CDW, we get the right network makes remote locations seem less remote.
Great, because my data is lagging out here.
CDW can orchestrate the Aruba Edge Services platform, bringing computing closer to where data is created. It automates, unifies, and secures the edge, fixing problems before they impact your business, giving your network a sixth sense. Someone at the door?
Just a moose. He works here.
Aruba and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/Aruba.
Panera believes in saying yes to things, like the new grilled mac and cheese sandwich. Get free delivery when you order on the app through September 14th. Panera, live your yes. Restrictions apply.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. college football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. It's time for our NFL Top 5, Bottom 5, Week 7. We're heading into Week 8. Earlier, I got my math all mixed up. I was like, are we heading into Week 6 or heading into Week 8? Crazy. Bengals have the Jets coming up this weekend, and the Browns have the Steelers, and we'll transition to cover more of those games coming up here as tomorrow's the middle of the week already. Tomorrow's already Wednesday. But today, as far as, last night, Monday Night Football, I mean, my goodness, that was such a boring matchup, but whatever. Bottom line is we currently sit here right now. We're 7 weeks in. We're heading into the halfway point, technically just under the halfway point since there's 17 weeks now, but you see my point. Top 5, bottom 5. Our top 5 teams in the National Football League and our bottom 5. Let's start with our bottom 5, Kev. Our bottom 5 in the National Football League. This is, we've talked about this. It's become a little repetitive. I don't think there's a whole lot of teams moving here, but the Texans are the worst team. When the Texans have lines that look like college lines, like minus 19.5, minus 21, like that's embarrassing, and there's no need for that. We talk all the time about the parity in the NFL, and then there's the Texans. And by the way, like, this isn't just because of the Deshaun Watson legal issues and everything. This team would be slightly improved with Deshaun Watson, but still really, really, really bad. But Deshaun Watson's not coming back. Whether he's not coming back to the NFL or not, that's still to be seen. But we know he's not coming back to Houston. So Houston's in bad shape. I have them as the worst team. The Jets are just as bad. It's unfortunate for them. Their quarterback goes down again. They're kind of like the Bengals of the 2021 season now. Zach Wilson goes down. They make the trade for Joe Flacco. How much of a difference will that make? Well, we'll find out on Sunday when the Jets take on the Bengals.
Interception.
I expect a disaster there for the Jets. I promise you that much. Jets are my second to worst team in the NFL. This is where it gets kind of jumbled. Like, I have the Dolphins there from a records perspective. Tua has actually played better. I probably shouldn't have them in my bottom 5 right now. But there's a lot of teams like, here's the problem with this. I give the Dolphins credit because they still show some fight to them. The Jaguars are supposed to be bad, but they show some fight to them. The Lions don't have a win yet this season, and yet they're more competitive than half these teams that have 2, 3, and 4 wins. So it's tough to fill out the bottom 5, but I do know this. You have to have the Texans, Jets, Dolphins, Jags, Lions in your bottom 5. I'm not sure what yours is. I didn't take a deep dive into it, but you know who I really want to put in there? And again, it's because of injuries too. Like, the Giants should probably be in there, but the Seahawks, that's atrocious. What that was last night, I mean, that's not even football. I mean, that was just a disaster, and that's not just last night. I mean, Pete Carroll, people trying to make this too much. Man, Pete Carroll, he can't win without Russell Wilson. Yes, morons, you can't win without your starting quarterback. It's very difficult to do. But it's beyond Russell Wilson not being out there. Even with Russell Wilson, they're very average. So this isn't a good football team. And then this is a weird one because they're above 500, the Bears. The defense is why they can't necessarily be a bottom 5 team, but I have never seen this team look so, like, 1 week they look like they're ready to put it together. Justin Fields looks like he's taking a step forward. But, I mean, the dude looked like he was ready to cry this past Sunday. I mean, this isn't football. And in the National Football League, good quarterbacks on bad teams should be able to at least compete and show what they could do. Joe Burrow last year, you didn't need the Bengals to be good for him to show you what he's capable of. Same thing with, of course, you look at, the Jaguars right now with Trevor Lawrence. And Justin Fields not being able to show off how good or bad he is not an indictment on him. That's just how bad this Bears team is, from the play calling to the offensive line to the lack of weapons. This isn't a Justin Fields problem. This is exactly what they would look like with Andy Dalton or Nick Foles. The Bears are a disaster. They're so bad. I know they're good defensively, but they're so bad offensively that I have them on the outside, bottom 5. But ultimately, it's the same bottom 5: Texans, Jets, Dolphins, Jags, Lions. But man, I would love to interswap the Jags in the Bears, man, because sometimes the Jags and the Lions are showing more fight than the Seahawks and Bears at times.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got the Houston Texans dead last in the NFL, and the reason I have the Detroit Lions coming in a spot below them is because they are don't have a win. Like, yes, I respect the fact that they're fighting. I respect the fact that Goff was a one touchdown toss away from leading his team to a victory over his former team. But, you know, Jalen Ramsey does Jalen Ramsey things and undercut slant routes for interceptions and everything like that. But still, you're the only team in the league that doesn't have a win. Then I have the Miami Dolphins. Like you said, Tua's playing.
In the Lions' defense, that was a trap game. They were looking ahead. They had a bad Bengals team, and they were looking ahead to the Rams. And it was, so that was why the Lions got blown.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
trap game. You're 100% correct. Tua is playing some pretty good football. You know, he's led his team on go-ahead drives in the fourth quarter over this past weekend, and then the weekend before that in London. You know, the defense just gave it up, and they're supposed to be a good defensive team. They're not. So they're in my bottom 5 as well. The New York Jets, they probably should be lower, but I just don't have them up there simply because they got to win. They're terrible too. And I still got Jacksonville in mind. I'm with you. You could sway me to the Bears being in the bottom 5, but I don't have them in my bottom 5 for the defense and the defense alone. Like, I feel weird putting the team in my bottom 5 that has an elite part of their team. You know, the defense is a super elite, just like Kansas City's offense is elite. Like, I just can't see myself putting them in there because it's a team sport. So I don't have the Bears in there. But yeah, man, Justin Fields, he's in a world of hurt right now. And we talked about it going into the draft. Didn't want him going to the Bears. And this is playing out exactly how I didn't want it to play out for him.
All right, now we head into our top 5. It's top 5, bottom 5. We'll start with our top teams in the National Football League, the Arizona Cardinals. I can't believe the Arizona Cardinals are the best team in football, not mainly because of the fact that as good as they are defensively, they're just as good offensively. I mean, they're dominant on both sides of the ball. They have pass rushers, they have linebackers, they have great secondary. Kyler Murray's playing at an MVP-like level. You have Hopkins, you have A.J. Green, you have weapons all over. You have more. You have so many weapons. The run game, the offensive line, Kyler Murray making plays all over the place. Like, the Cardinals are the real deal. It took me a few weeks to buy into them. And then still sometimes I scratch my eyes. I have to rub my eyes looking at them like, is that team for real? They're for real. I have them as the number 1 team because I think the Bucs are probably the number 1 team, but I'm going to give the edge to the Cardinals because they've beat a lot of good teams in this 7-0 start. So I got to give them the rub at number 1, even though I kind of think the Bucs are better. But I'm going to go with the Cardinals at 1. The Buccaneers come in at number 2. They're just playing at another level right now. Plus, they have Tom Brady. They've won 4 straight. They just look, they're playing football at a different level than everybody else right now. And they're just cool, calm, and collected. And the reason I give it to them is because it's very easy as defending Super Bowl champs to take your foot off the accelerator. They look better now than they did last year when they won the Super Bowl. This Bucs team is the same team as last year. They brought back every starter from last year's Super Bowl team, but somehow, some way, they are better this year than last year. And I shouldn't say somehow, some way. It's another full year under an offensive scheme and everything else. So another year of experience, camaraderie, chemistry, all that fun stuff. So Tampa's in at number 2. I have the Dallas Cowboys at number 3. The Dallas Cowboys right now, I still need to see a little bit more. I'm kind of like where I am with where I was with the Cardinals is where I was with the Cowboys. Them having a bye week was a little disappointing, but man, they have won 5 straight. They started out the season with a close loss against the Buccaneers. I mean, Dak Prescott went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. The running game went toe-to-toe with the run game of the Bucs. I mean, everything was toe-to-toe. It's just a close loss, and they didn't let that kind of hinder them at all. They just picked up the ball and just kept running, literally. They have 2 backs that are on the verge of potentially running for 1,000 yards this season, and Dak's playing at such a high level, too, taking advantage of his weapons like CeeDee Lamb and Gallup and those guys. So keep that in mind. The Dallas Cowboys are for real. Amari Cooper, and then that defense, of course, you talk about the fact that Diggs, leading the league in interceptions. I mean, it's almost to the point now where it's laughable. The fact that it looked like they were about to lose to the Patriots, and Diggs gets that interception, not just an interception, but the pick 6. You can't write that stuff. It's unbelievable. So the Cowboys are number 3. I think that the St. Louis wow, I haven't done that in a while.
Whoa, fastest show on turf.
Yeah, my goodness, idiots. It's not St. Louis. My God. Anyways, the San Diego Chargers, no. But the LA Chargers, holy crap. See my joke? I can't joke today. My brain is a little slower today than usual. But the Rams I have as the number 4 team in the NFL for how they're playing right now. Again, they're swarming the ball all over the place defensively and offensively. Can't say enough about Sean McVay's offense right now with Stafford. Their Stafford playing at an MVP-like level. I don't think he's going to win MVP this year, but his name's definitely in the hunt, and mainly because of what we all expected, or most people expected, when it comes to dropping him with what we saw in Detroit in an actual organized offense. Look out. We've definitely seen that. And number 5, is not. Yeah, it is. I have the Cincinnati Bengals at number 5. And let me be very clear. This was the Ravens spot. They kicked the Ravens' ass. They earned it. Look, the Bengals in all seriousness right now. McKenna, you listening? We're having a serious Bengals conversation. I know you're very keen on that. Look, the one reason I love the Cardinals is because their offense. I mean, right now you're scratching your head. How do you stop the Cardinals' offense? How do you stop Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon's run game mixed in with that? How do you stop that? How do you stop the Cardinals? And then you're scratching your head like, man, how do we attack the Cardinals' defense? How do you attack the Bengals defense right now? They have pass rushers. They have great guys in the secondary. Their linebackers playing lights out. I mean, Hubbard's getting to the ball. I mean, Hendrickson's getting to the ball. Right now it ticks me off. But you know what? The Cincinnati Bengals, you should thank the injury gods, because the Cleveland Browns would be the number 5 team right now. But because they're beat up and because they're injured, I'm going to let you hold the spot down, because in 2 weeks, who they ain't gonna beat them Bengals? The Cleveland Browns. That's who the Cleveland Browns are about to beat. That was set up so damn perfect. I practiced the timing earlier. Not really. That just happened organically, which is cool. The Browns are beating the Bengals in 2 weeks, and it sounds like Baker Mayfield's going to practice on Wednesday. Sounds like he's going to play this Sunday. So they're going to beat up on the Steelers. Baker is going to do the strut just with one arm, though. Going to march into Cincinnati. And you know what? It's going to be a time to celebrate a week from Monday, because we're going to be talking about the Cleveland Browns back in control. They'll be in first place again. And I thank the Cincinnati Bengals, because you guys, you did it. You did that. You kicked the Ravens' ass. You brought the Browns back to within the game so that the Browns could beat the Steelers, so that you could beat the Jets, so that the Browns and the Bengals can compete for first place here in 2 weeks, and I cannot wait. So the Cincinnati Bengals are my number 5 team in my top 5 race right now. I'm going to kill the music because I don't want people to think I'm being a smartass about this too much. They really are playing good football. I can't knock it. Zach Taylor has them playing disciplined football. You know, I beat up on Zach Taylor, and I beat up on the Cincinnati guys all the time, especially, you look at David Bell with the Reds. But David Bell, he cost his team games. Now, Zach Taylor has won 6 games in 2 years, but my goodness, he has them playing disciplined football. They don't turn it over. Well, Joe Burrow turns it over. He loves to throw it to the other team. But they don't beat themselves. They don't have penalties. They play very disciplined football. You got to give it to them for that. So I'm a big fan of what they're doing offensively as they continue to grow that. And then defensively, that's where it's at. You spend $200 million on that defense, they better be producing the way that they are. And they definitely showed up on Sunday. Can they keep it going? I think you got the Jets coming up. I think you'll be just fine. But, you're in trouble here in 2 weeks, though. Nick Chubb's healthy now. The offensive line's getting healthy. Baker's going to be playing. Oh, my goodness. Who they think will beat them Bengals? Cleveland Browns, baby. That, too. Cleveland rocks. All right, Kev, one more time, my top 5. The Cardinals, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Rams, and Team Houday, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Not bad. For me, I got the Super Bowl champs at number 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady, man. Tom Brady and all those weapons. The offensive line, they keep them clean. I know their defense isn't what it was in the playoffs last year, but when you keep Tom Brady upright, he finds the right player at the right time to score a lot of touchdowns. So I got Tampa Bay at number 1. Number 2, I got the Arizona Cardinals, like you said before, man. They're scoring, their defense is legit, and they're probably going to continue that undefeated streak, because not only is Devontae Adams on the COVID list, Lazard is on the COVID list for the Green Bay Packers. So they'll be without both their starting wide receivers next week. Well, this coming Thursday versus Green Bay. So they're probably going to win that game. So they'll continue their undefeated streak. Got Dallas Cowboys coming in at number 3. They got another matchup on Sunday night versus who the Cowboys got. They got Minnesota at Minnesota. Now, I know Dak is a little banged up and there's question marks about if he's going to play this week. But right now, I got Dallas Cowboys at 3. Got the Rams coming in at number 4. I just like the way the Rams are playing some football, man. They got a lot of playmakers on that defense. We talked about Jalen Ramsey earlier. Obviously, everybody knows about the defensive line and everything like that. But, they play good football out there in Los Angeles. Both teams in L.A. play good football, to be exact. But number 5 for me, I still got the Buffalo Bills hanging around at number 5. I know they lost to the Titans, but I still got Buffalo at number 5, hanging on to that spot. You know, Tennessee's right around there. Even the Bengals, they had a thought of being in my top 5, but I still got Buffalo Bills at the 5 spot for me.
Don't worry, Bengals. I got you. I got you. In fact, we're singing along today. We're still celebrating the Cincinnati Bengals. Got to make sure my mic is on. All right, hold up. Check. Oh, baby, here we go. Cincinnati Bengals. That's the team we're gonna cheer to victory.
Pray for me.
Down Bengals. Get some points up on that board and win a game for Cincinnati. Oh, yeah. You know, growling, Kev. They're mean and angry. They're prowling. They're hungry. They're brute. Boo. I don't know the words. The Bengals are in Kenner's top 5, and they're not in Kev's top 5. He's a hater. Kev Nash.
Me?
Kev Nash is a Bengals hater. We'll be back.
Gonna win that game for you, baby.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Call William Brockman and Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 for reliable Lennox products that can make the air in your home absolutely perfect. Ohio license number 14911.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches, weakness, or discomfort in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 selling nerve care company. Nervive contains alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, and B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live your life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts specializes in keeping your car on the road. Not sure how much life is left in your battery? Our professional parts people will test it for free. If it does need to be replaced, we'll help you find just the right one to fit your car. Our Superstar batteries are built to handle even the toughest conditions. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits is also the home for value. Frickers! Frickers' everyday values begin on Monday with boneless frickin' chicken wings. Tuesday offers traditional frickin' chicken wings. On Wednesday, enjoy a steak dinner. And on Thursday, frickin' chicken chunks. Kids eat free every day. And your favorite events are on TVs everywhere. The home for everyday values is the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers!
I'm Clerk of Courts Mike Foley.
And I'm Kettering Clerk Rob Scott.
Do you have outstanding court costs and fines?
From October 18th to October 29th, you can come into any of the municipal courts in Huber Heights, New Lebanon, or Kettering and pay off half of your fines and costs, and the other half will be waived.
Also, if you have a warrant, you can come in and we can get that taken care of.
Falling leaves equals falling costs. You need to harvest this incredible deal.
Brought to you by Clerk of Courts Mike Foley
and Kettering Clerk Rob Scott.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
The $10 Tastemaker from Pizza Hut. Personalize yours with your favorite sauce, crust, and up to 3 toppings and make the pizza you've always dreamed of. It's so beautiful. No one out-pizzas the Hut. Ask for offer. Not available in some locations. Exclusions apply. Extra charge per pan. Not available on stuffed crust.
Would you like a cleaning product that can be used in the garage, the laundry, and the kitchen, and save space in your cabinet? Hi, I'm Bruce Fabrizio, inventor of Simple Green. To learn more, visit us at simplegreen.com.
This flu season update is sponsored by Exergen. It's easy to put off a flu shot. The season is long, but CBS News' Dr. Tira Narula says you should get one as soon as you can.
We all think of the flu as, well, it's just the flu. But the reality is the flu can have serious consequences. It can evolve into other complications.
Fever is the #1 COVID symptom, so be safe with an accurate thermometer. Only Exergen is proven accurate in more than 100 studies. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Sip and save at Circle K. Enjoy 1
one coffee or fountain drink every day for only $5.99 a month. Sign up in-store or at CircleK.com.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now. Incredible! Good luck. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
We are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Kev Nash brings us more likely to coming up here in just a few moments, but I wanted to ask you, Kev, about this scenario that just happened.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a game and caught a foul ball?
No.
Anything at all that you've taken home from a game that you've attended, like a football, a baseball, nothing, you just said no. So, but I find this interesting. So Tom Brady threw his 600th touchdown pass over the weekend. And, you know, it was given to a fan from so Tom Brady's 600th touchdown ball was given to a fan from Mike Evans. So after he completed the pass, Mike Evans went up, gave it to a fan. That was a historic ball right there. It was Tom Brady's 600th passing touchdown. And this kid and his family decided to give the ball back. Now, this ball could have been valued at the very least $500,000. College tuition paid for it and then some.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of money. The Buccaneers and Tom Brady started getting criticized because, well, they got the football back, but they had given him $1,000 gift card to the team's gift shop.
Right.
And an autographed, I think it was an autographed football, an autographed something. So everyone just was pissed off because that was such a weak return. Well, I guess, is this an even trade here? So the kid the family who gave the ball back, that's valued at the very least $500,000. The kid received 2 signed jerseys and a helmet from Tom Brady. 1 signed Mike Evans jersey and game cleats, which, by the way, that is so disgusting, by the way. No, I'm serious. That's grossing me out. If I'm some dude's sweaty ass cleats, or even in basketball, like when Steph Curry, them, which is it's a nice gesture, but it really is gross. You know,
hygiene police.
You know, when we go to Frickers on Sunday, I'm going to, anyone that comes out to support the show and is a fan of the show, I'm going to take my shoe off and give it to you on the way out. That's disgusting. I have no clue why athletes do that. It's absolutely, no kidding. It's gross though. And like, if I had kids and Tom Brady tried to give his cleats to my son, I'd be like, or daughter, I'd be like, nah, they're good. You're good. Actually, how much them worth? Bring them back here real quick. But like, seriously, it's weird.
Put them in his bag.
So the kid also got $1,000 to the Bucs team store. Which, why not just give him $1,000?
No, they want to basically giving away stuff they already own.
Oh yeah, radio. Just saying. He did get 2 season tickets for 2021 and 2022.
Okay.
And 1 Bitcoin.
Now we're talking.
So this got spiced up a bit. Because all he got at first was the gift card and an autographed jersey. So now he got 2 signed jerseys and a helmet from Tom Brady. 1 signed Mike Evans jersey and some stinky foot shoes from Mike Evans. $1,000 to the $1,000 gift card to the Bucs team store. 2 season tickets for the rest of this season and all of next season, and 1 Bitcoin. So let me ask you, if you caught this ball, 518-1410, are you giving it back? And if you are giving it back, are you giving it back for what this return is? Is this return fair? Keep in mind, the ball is valued at the very least $500,000. You could sell the season tickets, get a nice little payday on those, I'm sure, depending on where the seats are. You could sell the jerseys and the helmet signed by Tom Brady. You know, we can call our guys at Sports Investments down in Cincinnati, and see what they would be worth. But I promise you add all of this up.
Yeah.
It's not worth $500,000. And then it comes to the moral debate or the ethics debate here of what's right. I mean, what's right is you should give it back. But you're also looking at these bazillionaire athletes, and you're talking about these poor regular common folk in the stands, which, by the way, if you're sitting front row at a Bucs game close enough to get Tom Brady's ball, maybe you're not so damn poor after all, but that's besides the point. It's not like me sitting there. There's no way in hell. I mean, we work in radio. There's no way in hell we're sitting there.
But you're giving away $1,000 a day.
$1,000. Yeah, $1,000 a day. So with that being said, I don't know if I would give it back.
I would give it back.
I would give it back for the $500,000. I would at least go get it a price and see what I can get for it before I would just hand it back.
Okay, that was my question. That was going to be my question was, okay, going into it, when you catch the football, you don't know that it's valued at that price. You just, oh, man, I got a football from an NFL guy. Oh, this is cool. I'm going to keep this. And then you start doing the Google's like, hold on, that was Tom Brady's what? Then, oh, no, I'm keeping this. I'm going to sell it for this, X, Y, and Z. Honestly, I think that it's a fair trade simply because of the Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is like, one Bitcoin is about what, $60,000-$70,000. Yes, it's not $500K, but like that. Okay, now we're talking. We're getting into that price range. As an adult, you would think like, all right, man, let me negotiate this a little bit higher. What else can I get? I don't necessarily think you're gonna get like actual cash in hand, but like I would try to juice it for everything I could get. I'm talking like, all right, man, I need a suite. Forget just regular tickets. Forget season tickets. I need a suite for this season. Let me get 2 Bitcoin, like something like I'm trying to get more.
So 1 Bitcoin from Tom Brady is $63,000.
Not bad.
Fair. Okay, we're good.
Not bad.
Now, if he said 1 Bitcoin, I'd still be confused because I don't understand Bitcoin. So I'd be like, what the hell is this 1 Bitcoin? This is like a Chuck E. Cheese coin that you go put in the machine to get some tokens. Like, this is like a damn token. So Bitcoin. So, okay, it's a fair deal. Again, if you're walking
But you don't
away,
know that going into it, especially if you're a kid or, a teenager. You don't know the price of a Bitcoin. You got to Google that to get a type of value. So, yeah.
All right, but I'm kidding. Would you have given it back? My thing is this too, though. I wouldn't have given it back. You don't have no obligation to give it back.
Mm-mm.
If I'm homeless on the street corner, shaking a cup with these athletes walking by, you think they put a quarter in there? No. So why are you going to give the ball back? Mike Evans technically gave you the ball. I'm keeping it. I ain't giving it back. I'm going to get every dime that's coming to me. I'm keeping that ball. I ain't giving it back. Even for the $63,000 Bitcoin, which maybe at the time, if he said it's $63,000, I would have probably said, okay, if I give it to me. But no, if I wanted to know that at the time, I wouldn't have given it back. And I see people on social media, the moral police, they're out.
It's not your ball.
It's not your ball. You got to do the right thing. Who said it's the right thing?
Mike Evans got to do the right thing and know what the hell he's doing with that football.
Why is Tom Brady paying off Mike Evans' mistake? Like, Mike Evans needs to be over there Bitcoining it up.
And imagine, the guy that had to go over there was one of the team officials to go talk to the guy. Like, yeah, I need the football back. Imagine being in his shoes. Like, hey man, we got to get Tom's 600 pass back. Who's gonna go do it? Kenner, go do it. Kev, go do it. Huh? Like, what? Get out of here, man. That would have been a rough conversation, especially like if you're there with like a super fan that knew how much it was worth. Like, don't get that back, kid. Don't get that back. Keep that forever. Keep it and sell it.
I'm telling you right now, is from an ethics standpoint, I would have a hard time giving. And also, I would have a hard time giving it back.
I think this type of thing happens more in baseball because when you go to a baseball game, like, all right, this whole Sosa and McGuire situation, like everybody knows the exact numbers because that's why you're at these games. In the NFL, you really don't know how many passing touchdowns somebody has. I just remember that whole Sammy Sosa situation with McGuire. Like, it was every single day that they hit a home run, it was front page news everywhere. I didn't know it was Tom Brady's 600 TD pass until they told me the day of that it happened.
It was his 600 touchdown pass this season. I mean, that dude is unbelievable. And I'm laughing too and then I'm like, well, I mean, someone just said, how ungrateful can you be? Tom Brady gave the kid $63,000. Why don't you Google his net worth? I mean, to be honest, with all the money Tom Brady's worth, I mean, look at Shakedown Kidder over here.
The Buccaneers need to be coming off some.
Mike Evans is solely responsible. I mean, Tom Brady would not have had to give up that Bitcoin if Mike Evans didn't go run up and give it to the kid to begin with.
Buccaneers need to give up more. Buccaneers need to come up.
But good for Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a good dude.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he didn't have to give him anything. He could have just been like, yeah, you gave it up for that $1,000 gift card to there and have fun. Go buy my jersey.
All right. We have 5 minutes. So we'll put some music behind Kev. Where are we at right now? So Kev Nash is bringing us more likely to. Which is more likely to, Kev? Send us off.
All right. More likely to happen. Patrick Mahomes leads the NFL in touchdown passes or in interceptions.
Where is he at right now?
He is third in the NFL right now in TD passes with 18. First in the NFL with 19 interceptions. Well, 9 interceptions. Goodness.
No, I'm going to say Joe Burrow has 31 interceptions. I mean, Joe Burrow, his completion percentage to the other team is like 100%. It's really good. Actually, no, it's not 100%. The Lions, I forgot the linebacker for the Lions, but Joe Burrow threw it right. It was like Baker Mayfield-esque. I mean, he threw it right to him, and the guy dropped it. So, no, unfortunately, that hurt his completion percentage to the other team. But I'm sorry, I was too nice about the Bengals today, but their turnover machine quarterback does need to clean it up. He does get too much damn praise. If we're sitting here bashing Patrick Mahomes for all his turnovers, why aren't people questioning the turnovers of Joe Burrow?
So much for 5 minutes.
I'm just saying. It's ridiculous. Baker Mahomes, holy crap. Baker Mayfield throws an interception. People lose their mind. Joe Burrow does it. And, he's so cute. Look at him. His little weird green outfit he wore with his little purple purse that he carried into the game this past weekend. All right, I think it's more likely that he leads the league in touchdowns. I don't think he's going to lead the league. As long as Joe Burrow's still throwing footballs, he's going to lead the league in interceptions at this point. Now, Patrick Mahomes more likely to lead the league in touchdowns and interceptions.
All right, more likely to happen. The Cardinals go undefeated or the Lions go winless.
That's a good one. Good for you. I would say it's more likely. I mean, we've seen the Lions go winless before. They're too damn competitive, but I do know this. Kyler Murray I'm going to say it's more likely that the Lions go undefeated than the Cardinals go undefeated or winless, whatever. But you see what I'm saying. Kyler Murray, the last 2 years, he has started out hot and has slumped mightily in the second half. And I think there's a good chance it can happen again. Back-to-back years where he has played lights out the first half and has slumped majorly the second. So I think it's more likely that the Lions don't win a game this year than the Cardinals go undefeated. For one, it's very tough to go undefeated. It's very tough to lose all your games too. But yet there you are. The Browns are the last team to do that. And look at that. They got the man, the myth, the legend, Baker Mayfield.
More likely to happen. Cam Newton signing with a team this season or the off season.
I think as we get closer, I think Cleveland's makes a good fit for him. I think right now the only reason that Baker Mayfield, or the only reason Cleveland and Cam Newton haven't been mentioned yet is just for the pure fact that there's still so much unknown about Baker. And, I think the second that Baker Mayfield gets shut down for the year, which I think it's inevitable, unfortunately, that injury, he may practice this week and he'll start the game Sunday most likely. I'll be very surprised if he finishes. And if he does finish the game, how much of him will be left to start for Cincinnati? It's only a matter of time before Baker's shut down for the year, Kev. So I'm going to say this season, I think Cleveland makes a lot of sense for Cam Newton if he wanted to, but there's no better situation out there. You look at the Jets, you look at the Giants, you look at all the teams that are weak at quarterback. The only one that makes sense for Cam Newton that he should be intrigued by is Cleveland. Like, that's a spot he can come right in and have weapons all around him, and he would be eased into it. In New England, he had to be the guy. Cleveland, he has guys around him. I'd say it's this season before off season.
More likely to happen, Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the Super Bowl or lose their first round playoff matchup.
It's very tough to repeat. The Patriots are the last team to do it over a decade ago. But I think it's more likely right now with the way they're playing right now. I'd say it's more likely they win a Super Bowl. Anything can happen in the NFL. I get that, but there's just no weaknesses on this team unless all of a sudden we start to see Tom Brady start to deteriorate, which doesn't look likely. I'm going to say it's more likely they win the Super Bowl than lose a first-round upset.
All right, last one. More likely to happen, the Bengals win the AFC North or miss the playoffs.
I'm going to say, so they're more likely to win the AFC North or miss the playoffs? They are more likely to win the AFC North because even if they don't win the AFC North, they're still going to make the playoffs most likely as a wild card team, as long as they stay at this pace. Cincinnati. So, yeah, there you go. I think that they are more likely to they're more likely to win the AFC North than miss the playoffs because I think even if they don't win the AFC North, they're still going to make it. So I think they're fine.
Yeah, they got a 2-game lead over everybody.
Like I said, we talked about this yesterday. They're 5-2 right now. They're playing the Jets. They're going to be 6-2 at the halfway point. Even if they only go so they have 9 games. If they go 4-5 the rest of the way, that's not good, but they're still a 10-win team.
Right.
They're okay. Like, they don't even have to play great football the second half because of how well they've played in the first half. So, but all right, folks, that wraps it up for us. Have a great night. We'll do this again tomorrow. Until tomorrow, it's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. I don't care what the song says. Go Browns.
Cincinnati Bengals, that's the team we're gonna cheer to victory. Touchdown Bengals, get some points up on that board and win a game for Cincinnati.
Oh, look, it's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash.
We've been expecting you.